Okay.
Where's the list? Here.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Board of Finance meeting. I think we've got everyone here almost. Judy, if you
Yes.
do the roll, just to see where we are.
Yeah, Judy Neville. Tom Schulte's absent. Amy Carroll.
Here.
Todd Lavieri.
Here,
Michael Chen is here. Good. Chris Labrie.
Here.
Victor Alvarez.
Here.
Maria Weingarten. She's coming or no?
expect her, but she's not here.
I thought so. Robert Hamill,
Here.
Paul Dobbin, James Yao,
Yep.
and our first selectman, Kevin Monahan is
Uh,
here. So,
Home was on. Is he on?
yeah, he's
He's on. Okay.
he's on, right? Yeah,
Column is here.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, good. Okay.
And so Maria, we don't know. We're gonna have to seat Tom Schulte, but Rob Hamill.
Yeah.
A motion for,
Motion for Bob Hamilton for Tom, please.
So moved.
do you want to
Second.
seat Maria or you want to wait a while? She didn't.
I'm sorry, let's just finish this.
Yeah.
Chris made the motion.
Second.
Amy seconded. All in favor of seating Bob? Thank
Aye.
you. Opposed? None? Okay. Who are you seating
What do
Maria
you
for?
think about? Not here yet. Want to wait a little bit? Because I
no,
thought, no,
Let's see the.
Let's
All
just see.
all right, then we'll have a motion to seat
James?
James Yao.
Okay, motion for James to sit for Maria.
So moved.
Jay, okay. Second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, motion to approve, please, the minutes for the March 7th and March 9th meetings. Can I have one motion for both?
There's just a small typo.
Yeah, go ahead, Victor.
So on the last sentence of both sets of minutes, it says that I moved it and Mr. Neville seconded it.
It does.
On both of them.
Just wonder who took those minutes.
Well, yeah, was it her husband or?
Got that,
We're
but I
fluid
didn't.
here.
All right, excellent
And I have one question.
correction. Correction or a question? Clarity.
Well, clarity.
Okay.
Clarification of the
Okay.
minutes. In the minutes, we refer to one of our members by two different last names. And so I would like to allow that member to decide which last name she would like.
C'est moi.
Yes, it was.
C'est moi. Well, I think for Tucker, it's easier if I go by Carol because it gets confusing.
Yeah, okay, because the minutes have you as Carol and then Murphy and then Carol, so it goes
Yes.
back and forth in the minutes.
Okay.
Sounds like two different people.
Right. Well, yeah, I think if Tucker wasn't Murphy, I'd go for Murphy, but since Tucker's Murphy,
What are you in the role?
Murphy, Carol.
You're Murphy.
She's, well, yeah,
Okay. Wait, if you,
Not Carol on your roll. You
yeah,
said-
but we refer to you as
Yeah.
both. What do you prefer?
Amy Carroll.
Carol, that's what we've left it.
Only here.
Okay.
Okay.
Because 20
Elsewhere,
years from
Murphy.
now, they won't remember when they review these minutes. for
100 years from now,
If
when
you care.
we're building another library.
Yeah.
All right, so. Did I say that out loud? Okay, with those excellent clarifications, a motion to approve the minutes from March 7th and March 9th. Moved. Moved Victor, the editor, and seconded by
Chris.
Chris. Excellent. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Okay. Okay. Mr. First Selectman.
Good evening. Good to be with you all in person. For the first time, I have no COVID report. I may have said that last month, but officially the pandemic is ending, as you know, the emergency, and that mainly relates to federal and state funds being eligible to be paid, but we're going to end PCR testing over at the Vine Cottage. We're going to continue to do rapid tests. We will continue to do vaccinations, but for all practical purposes, so far this year, the pandemic is over. Waveney House bathrooms are underway. The elevator has been ordered. The Two Tony Elm is virtually demolished inside on the first floor and is scheduled to be occupied in July by the Board of Ed. So it's going along well. Couple, very few surprises with the new building.
Here's Mike.
Hmm?
How can you, Mike?
And the PD renovation is, as you know, is on schedule for October departure for the PD from South Avenue, and Tiger can tell you about all the road repaving we're about to begin. You've authorized it, and a lot of the downtown roads that have been torn up for both the Aquarian water pipes and the Eversource gas will be finally repaved. The CHP unit at Lapham Center is installed and probably 90, actually just about complete. And we're waiting for the gas hookup from Eversource Gas into Waveney Park, which should happen soon. So the library took down their first tranche of $2 million last week. And they've told the Board of Selectmen they don't expect it to be over $5 million in total, but their fundraising continues to be very, very good.
Amazing.
So. Nakua, Town of Weston has indicated they will join, and we have the Community Foundation hopefully in for $50,000. We still don't have either Darien or Wilton, but we continue to talk to them. Program's going very well, and both for town employees and for residents. So. I think, well, I mentioned this, the town council, the land trust has succeeded in negotiating a purchase of the 1124 Valley Roadhouse, which we've been trying to protect for the last 4 years. The First Taxing District of Norwalk is trying to improve relations with their neighbors, including the town of New Canaan, and they would like us to participate in their purchase on about a 1-to-5 ratio. They're getting an extra acre of open space to connect the two properties. The Brown Preserve of about 10 acres and the 2 acres they're purchasing. We have the land acquisition fund for that purpose. And I think the process is that the Board of Selectmen has to approve that. They may have to come through all the bodies, but that's
What's the timing?
soon. They're negotiating their purchase and sale agreement. It should be in May.
So,
For
can you,
what?
can you, is it for additional land and the house? So
The house-
just gives more detail on that.
So the house is about an acre and a half that was going to connect the two properties with a narrow strip. They've decided instead to give an additional acre. So there's a wide swath along Valley Road to connect the two properties. And
And I'm sorry, how big will the entire parcel be with this?
2 acres,
So 2 acres, okay.
over 2 acres.
Mhm.
Yeah. And but again, I don't want to announce their purchase price because they haven't announced it, but I think it's a very favorable deal. It'll be their headquarters for the land trust and a residence for their executive director. And
Nice.
preserving one of the oldest homes in the Canaan. So very pleased with that.
That worked out.
In so the proposed town batches, did you say 20%?
Probably less than $100,000.
Okay.
So. And then finally, I think that's it. So, any questions?
Yeah, how about, are we gonna have an update on the theater, where that stands?
Well, I thought that's going to be
Oh, yeah.
Then I
tonight,
didn't,
so I didn't address that.
okay, I just didn't see it as a line item here, so. unless-
I talked to town council about that, but I decided you guys are going to talk about that tonight. So
Okay.
why should I talk about it?
No, it's number 8.
So
Amy,
it's a,
you have this?
it's on the, financial, right?
Tiger and Bill, where's Bill?
Appropriation for,
Okay.
yeah, I would expect we would go through each one of these.
Okay.
We could do one vote maybe, or but
Fine.
we'll go through each one to get an over. You're gonna make me vote on every one of them?
I think you have
All
to.
right,
if
you're in
we're gonna be
charge.
Consistent.
I'm not,
yeah.
okay.
No, I just didn't see it like a separate line item, like Buchanan Athletic Foundation, so that's why.
Yeah,
I missed it.
okay.
Okay.
Anything else?
Nope.
You good? Okay, thank you, Kevin. Okay, I asked, Ann, you want to come on up and do I asked Ann to do an overview of the capital projects going back to, I sort of randomly picked 2017. Just 6 years was enough data. Since tonight we're approving, we're discussing and approving a lot of capital projects. I don't know that we've ever had a report on how did we do on the last 6 years. And so, Ann pulled together a summary, which she has, and you all have on your tablets. And I won't steal Ann's thunder, but it was a good analysis, and I thought a good story and good to have us get this update. So Ann, I'll turn it over to you.
Give you the summary. So as Todd said, we did a look back to 2017. And both the Board of Ed, Sean and Tiger, went through the list to say what was open, what was closed. And then we looked at, what I did was run it by original budget to revised budget to let us know if anything changed, because that was the question as well. Were any of the projects over budget, which that would show through when the budget was revised. So both sides went through it. we have, and had 260 projects in that time period totaling 76.3 million.
So say it again,
260
260
projects
projects.
totaling 76.3 million.
Mm-hmm.
We had, of that, 144 closed
Find my cheat sheet.
and 116 are still open.
Here we go.
Of the closed projects, the 144, we had 39 that were on budget. We had 14 that we would say over budget, and this was based on bids coming in, both on the town side and the Board of Ed. The Board of Ed was the boilers. The town had various ones going through. And as you know, we bond in buckets. So we might have for DPW, or we might have for the police station, a bucket where it's maybe $1 million we're bonding, but there's various projects within that bonded bucket that we say. And estimates come up with, and that's what the budgets are based on. And having it in a bucket gives you the ability that if one estimate comes in over, you can take it from another part of the bucket, so it doesn't convolute the process, so we can keep it going. So we had some smaller amounts there. There were others where the revised budget changed because we were receiving grants or donations. So the original budget would be set up as to what the town was responsible for. We don't change that budget until that money comes in for the grant or the, if it's a grant and we have an award, we can up the budget. But if it's donations, we want to make sure that money's in before we start spending it. So there was a couple that were like that. So I didn't include them in the over budget because they technically are not, but it looks like from a revised to regular. We had, under the closed projects, we had 91 that were under budget. So of that total, remaining unspent was 6.39% of the original authorizations. And the over budget equated to 0.85%.
So give me the dollar amount again. It was 38 million is closed,
Yeah, 38.5 is closed.
and 6% of 38 million. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, that's what's
Was
remaining.
underspent.
It was, yes, it's what's left, exactly. It's what's left of the authorization.
Okay.
And typically the authorization, correct me if I'm wrong, we typically build in a hefty contingency, like 15 or
They
20%.
do, yeah.
So it's of the 1.2 times. It's the number inclusive of the contingency, correct? Okay, so in fact, we're eating into the contingency for about 14% of each project.
On the budget on 39, I have to look to see how much, because some of them could be trucks and that they don't put that level of a contingency on.
Right,
So yeah, you'd have to look at
That's true.
each individual project to see which one has that level of a contingency.
Yeah.
And which one came within the budget without a contingency
Right.
versus with, yes.
yeah, and we're kind of in a tricky position, right? Because when we get a reasonable estimate, you want to put a contingency on. But then if you go out to bid, people know you have the contingency
Well,
on. So
that's
so
the-
it's a
that's the
tricky,
balance.
it's a
Yeah.
tricky balance, but
Right.
so we're assuming most of them have a contingency, and we're using a chunk of the contingency for each of them. If the contingency is between 15-20% and we're,
Oh, if you're saying over, yes.
without looking at every single one. Yep.
I'm trying to think offhand. Well, of some of the, if you look at some of the ones that I mean, and obviously any of the paving, there's not really that level of
Right,
contingency. You
absolutely.
spend that down, and that's,
That's-
3 million every year. Then you have, in this particular one, we had the library, 10 million, that went straight out the
Mhm.
door of their particular 30 million. So I'm trying to think of something. You're correct. Some of them would have some small contingency in it.
What I see is 144 closed projects. 39 on budget, 91 under budget. 63% of them are under budget. 90% of 144 are on or under. I mean, I think that's a round of applause for Tiger. That's fantastic. I can't, and your team and everybody. I mean, I know there's some that go over. I get it, but I mean, it's 14 out of 140, 10%. It's fantastic. And we don't know the dollars that they were over. Or do you? You might know.
The dollars I think I had were, because it gets, I think it was close to like 300,000.
Yeah, on 38 million.
on the closed
Yeah.
ones.
Okay. Anyway, I'd be curious to benchmark that against any town, but on that many projects to have 90% of them on or under sounds tremendous. And we deal with old building. I mean, we deal with stuff that we don't know we're getting. Well, we have one right now. So, right, we deal with things we don't always know what we're getting into. So that's pretty. that's
How
pretty
about
good.
projects with that were over, say, $1 million, like the bigger projects? Did any of those wind up going over budget or were they typically under budget?
I'm just looking really.
I know.
Well, you have the roofs.
The
any-
roofs,
They went under.
They went way.
they were under. We actually had 4 roofs that were under. The bulk of them were, that were under were 4 roofs and 2 bridges.
Mm.
Were that were under.
So the big ones tended to come in under budget?
Yes, yeah. We had, let me see, it's, that's 8 million. Just over 1 million on those 4 alone.
That was the school building roofs, the
Yeah, east,
barn
west,
roofs, or one barn, what was
high
the other
school,
one?
So it was east, west,
Three, school?
the high school.
High school.
Yeah, 3.
And where was the other one?
Saks was big when that came in.
Was that in the last 6 years?
Cafeteria, Saks Cafeteria.
It was the.
Oh,
they
yeah,
did
yeah,
do that.
yeah.
Yeah, I thought
That
it was,
was 100.
okay, so it's 3 school. And then it was just Irwin Barn? Or what was the
But,
4th?
but Irwin Barn, didn't we have to, with the windows, didn't we have to come back for more money on the windows?
Irwin Barn.
That couldn't have
we
been a
haven't done the
big,
roof.
was that a
We
big
haven't done
number? The
We haven't
Irwin-
done the roof yet.
Oh, it was the windows. Okay. I
We haven't
was
done the
thinking
roof.
it was- Okay.
Pardon?
Irwin,
Yeah, I think we did.
that actually came, Irwin Barn, 2018, that came under budget by $6,000.
But that was the windows, not the roof. We
Okay.
haven't done the roof, right?
No,
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
okay,
right.
okay.
Okay, so that was windows. Okay.
So right now there are 116 that are open.
106, yes, 116 are open, 111, well, right now they're on.
Tracking
budget as
on.
We're going through, they're tracking.
Couple over.
We have
couple
2
under.
over, which are one of the boilers at the Board of Ed. They've still 2 more that technically will be over because they're asking for money in this year.
Mhm.
Because they didn't have enough in it. And then 220 Elm. I did not include any of the ones that are on the table right now, the Playhouse and things.
Got it.
And then right now we have 3 that are closed that are under budget.
Tiger, I mean, any lessons learned? I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I mean, for the ones that maybe didn't go right, only 14 of them, I guess, but
Some are interesting where, the project, we might get purchase of equipment, right, which is very difficult, where that goes over budget, but it was 18-month purchase,
Hmm.
A year later.
mhm.
Not much we can do about that. I debated increasing the budget slightly, but I don't want to do that because I don't want to inflate it. I'd rather come back for the money and say we're a little over than to hedge my bet,
Mhm.
so that hurts it. The overall would just be, I won't say we'll slow down because people tell me all the time to do less, but, slow down a little bit and take our time a little bit more, like, some of them, there's not gonna be there wasn't gonna be a win. There wasn't gonna be, no matter what we did, there wasn't gonna be a win. Others, there's a point in time when you do too much diligence and you know too much on the project and it costs you too much money to do the diligence versus how much money you save on the backside, right? So change orders sometimes are not necessarily the evil that they are. They're just a necessary portion of it that you then have to contain. That's why we keep it at 15% to try to contain everything down. So you could design the perfect project, but it would cost you so much money to design it that the build would be, it wouldn't be worth the build at that point. So at present, no, not.
Okay. All right.
Another aspect of this is the amount of deferred maintenance we don't have, that we've been doing a hell of a lot of upkeep in the past 5 years, 6 years. And, you look at other towns that have enormous deferred maintenance
Mhm.
that they're trying to catch up on. You look at the 4 out years for our current 5-year capital plan. The Board of Ed goes off like, there's not a lot out there. So.
And I think one of the things too, and it speaks to some of the projects are difficult, like Waveney. I mean, we've been messing around, I don't want to say mess around, we've been trying to address
Mhm.
Waveney multiple times. We thought the first ADA number would be much lower than it came in at. And those numbers just became, because it's a complicated building, right? Because we initially, I think the initial ask for the bathrooms and the elevators was way lower than it ends up really being. Some of it is just the reality of these older buildings. Didn't we initially ask for like $1.5 million and that was the number put in to do this? And then we realized that really wasn't it? It was a placeholder.
On the other hand, when you did the building study, who did the Savern, was it Savern did the estimate? Okay, I think the estimate was $16.5 million for Waveney House. We've only done $6 million and we're kind of, other than air conditioning.
Yep.
We're almost done.
No, it's a big building. It's an old building
Yeah.
and a complicated
What
building.
happens when you
it's
get,
been
it's
discussed
complicated.
for
It's a good way to put
20
it.
Remember that we were told,
Time.
at one point, we were told that the total cost of maintaining Waveney was $33 million.
No, I think, wasn't it 16.5?
No, I didn't think it was that high.
Closer to 25, 26, what I had to make it.
Well, again, there were large numbers and we're nowhere near that in the buildings.
They were big numbers, yeah.
Huge, yeah.
Well, I didn't mean to spend a lot of time on this. I just wanted to, it's time to have a report card. We hadn't had a report card in forever. And I think out of 144 projects, 90% are on budget or under is really a good record. So anyway, great work for everybody. Anything else, Ann, you want to cover on that? Any other questions for Ann on this or any
Yeah.
other questions you'd like to get? Maybe any other data, maybe?
I just have one. When we transferred all that money of leftover projects over a number of years, did that include most of what was under budget here? Has that money already been returned? to the
So not
general-
everything. So
Some enough?
So there's
or-
two different numbers here. There's the authorization savings. And then there's a second set of analysis, which is what's actually excess bonded. So some of the bonding has to move over to this project. That's what I'm actually currently doing, all the money side of it, to say what should be cleared out, what's not, and what's left, and then what can go forward to the current ones we're looking to bond. So that actually will come in front of you May or June, so I can clear everything up by the end of this year.
So we're close to
Yep.
where, yeah.
Oh, yeah, and we're closing
Yeah,
down a lot of
neutral, yeah.
authorizations and, yeah.
Okay.
Of all the documents.
I just had a quick question.
Go ahead, James.
Yeah, how much was this affected by COVID since this is going back to 2017? Are we gonna do even better in the future, or we're already only 10% over budget, right? How much of that was driven by COVID stuff?
I don't know. You'd have to ask
Yep,
Tiger
Mark's
that
there.
one.
Yeah, that one.
That could be the delays in some of the vehicles, I guess. I mean, there could be things like that. That's a good
Yeah.
point. I hadn't thought about that.
Some of it can be attributable to that, just on supply chain and then increased cost of materials that at the time that we had originally estimated, we didn't know that going forward. Point exactly that. Now, we bought a truck recently that we bought it in December
Can't hear him.
and it's a 25 model. So I bought it in 23, I bought a 25 model. You can imagine, because that's how long it's gonna take for it to go through the queue. You know, so we're looking at ways to try to shorten that down as well, as far as what we're specifying and what we're asking for, even color, right? So we're actually changing our color now. That's gonna save us 6 months on a machine by going to white from orange. So you'll see that eventually all the vehicles will start to no longer be the highway orange, and they're gonna go to a white with orange piping or green piping, depending upon the department. But that will save us 6 months minimum. You know, we can't wait that time anymore, so.
Anything else?
No.
Okay.
Just the file that's called capital projects since 2017, when is that?
Sorry,
The file that's.
That's
on our
this.
cap-
that's it's the detail on all the projects.
You got it all.
And it's got 3 tabs on the bottom that has by open, closed and total.
And then you had a
And
summary,
then I had a summary page.
Yeah.
summary page. Okay, Tiger, come on up. I think Tiger and Mike are next. Thank you, Ann, for that.
Yep.
You will be back.
I don't see any tabs on this one.
What's the matter, Chris?
Nothing, I'm just looking at this file. Only for.
Yeah, if you have follow-up questions, ask Ann.
Yeah, we gotta
Place.
stay symbiotic.
Okay, enterprise zone for Dunning. So we, everyone recalls where we were in March. We put together a placeholder. Mike and his team had refined everything, met with the town council, and I think you're back to give us the update as to where we are, and we've got a line item tonight to discuss, so.
Right, so we'll walk you through a presentation. I apologize, we're having technical difficulties. My computer shut down and we're on a 2-factor authentication, which you would like.
I love,
I
I don't like it. I love
It
it.
gets pushed to my cell phone. My cell phone just died, so I can't actually fire my computer up. So Josh is gonna have to do it for us.
Okay,
So Josh, can you go to the next slide and then I'll try to walk through everything? So this is the presentation that we promised you back from the previous meeting. We gave it to the council only because we went to them first. We were out of cycle a little bit and we didn't want to ask for a special meeting from the board. So we'll walk you through exactly what we know and where we are. So the NCAF started off with what we deemed a Waveney Athletics Master Plan. That kind of went through everything at Waveney as far as athletic fields and what was the art of the possible, the track, the extra turf fields, baseball field, and work at Dunning. And then we broke that down. Next slide, Josh. And then narrowed in on what I'm calling the Dunning Stadium Enterprise Zone. This is one of the first plan sheets from that plan. Everything highlighted in yellow would be the work on the roads, and then anything in pink, as you can see in there, is work on the stadium. Josh, give me the next one, please. This kind of, give me the next slide, Josh. Thank you. So this kind of draws you in a little bit closer as to what we're looking at the stadium itself. Some work at the press box, or a brand new press box, I should say. We looked at a 2-story press box, scaled it down to a 1-story press box. Look at a new concession stand. The concession stand would be operable from both sides. So therefore you could actually come to the concession stand of a night, sort of like Mead Park Lodge, and be able to utilize it. And then bathrooms for home and away. And then as well as a new entrance area and donor wall, specifically those areas. Josh, give me the next one. We also looked at circulation in and around the stadium. Right now, the circulation is a little lacking as far as coordination and how to get through the parking lots, pick up and drop off your children, student athletes walking from the gym, which is that tan building down to the right, and then leading up to the stadium or to the track or to the tennis courts or to the turf fields. There's areas of conflict. If you would want a traffic term, there's many areas of conflict that this traffic island idea, this traffic circle, will eliminate a majority of those areas of conflict. Because if you look at the original plan, or you look at the plan that's there now, there's a lot of turning movements that are there with a lot of children moving at the exact same time. And this traffic circle will then will help define the pedestrian ways, and then define where the cars will go, and then allow for pickup and drop off of the athletes at Dunning or from the gym after, because the kids all sit in the area just outside the gym waiting to be picked up. That's why all the area there is kind of denuded. There's no grass. It's all just kind of, everyone hops the curb and parks wherever they want to try to pick up their children. This should help eliminate that. With this, there was some loss of parking. So therefore we look at making the high school road a one-way entrance at the last end of it. And then we're allowed to get some additional angled parking there. And then we gather some additional angled parking on the access road that we just built a couple of years ago. There's about another 20 spaces up there. So a net loss of 1 space overall with all the improvements that are planned. Josh, you go to the next one. So then if we break into the stadium itself, the first, sorry.
Quick question. So
Sure.
is that traffic circle something you would recommend with or without the improvements at Dunning?
Yeah, I
or
would. Yeah,
it's tied to.
I would, given the fact that I've had complaints from others, has nothing to do with one of the reasons why it's in there is because we tried to throw everything into this master plan in the area to show what was lacking. Not necessarily that would be all an athletic foundation purview, but areas of concern throughout. One of the comments that we received from the DOJ was specifically that on connectivity, and then accessible parking, and then accessible walkways. So we're lacking in a couple of those locations. This plan actually takes care of those deficits that were noted in their plan.
So this is kind of bifurcated from this Dunning Stadium itself?
That's
Is it
correct.
separate?
Yes, it could. Yeah, most definitely could separate itself off. Given the fact that where we were in the timing and where we are in the planning of this, there was no feasible way to get it done this season, especially considering where we see all the contractors out now, where they are and how busy they are. Trying to do this work at this point in time wasn't gonna go forward. Plus, we need to sit with the Board of Ed and make sure that they're comfortable with this idea. You know, we don't want to bring in anything that they're not overall comfortable with. It's an idea at present, but it should satisfy. We hired a traffic engineer to take a look at this and design this, and this should satisfy the concerns that are around there, but it's definitely a separate situation from the
Just how
from the
much?
Athletic Foundation. That's a $2 million request.
Okay, so with or without the NCAF project, you would put this in your capital plan for next
I don't
year?
know if it would be in mine or the Board of Ed, but it should be.
Somebody's,
It'll be in the
should, right.
towns.
It's, you know, I
Okay.
still look at it as it's one pair of pants.
Sure.
You know, in the end, and
It-
in the end, what normally happens is
Yeah.
their money goes over, comes back over to our side, and then I construct it with their money, you know,
Right.
so.
but this
it-
would be a priority with or without the Athletic
Yes,
Foundation
yeah,
improvements.
like I said, when we went to pave a year ago at the high school, I got asked this question about it. We were literally the machines were there. You know, I'm ready to like start laying asphalt, and they were asking about could I build a traffic circle at that time? No, I can't do that at that time. You know, we can, and I said we would go back and take a look at it. And then during this planning phase, I asked for this to be put in to this idea to take up those concerns that I had been receiving from before.
And
That
this
kind of,
has to be done before the second stage, or can it
can
all
be- it
wait
can be-
until after the?
it can be, this one
4
can be
million.
completely, pretty much completely separated. We tried to phase the projects so that they were separable
Yeah.
and the disturbance would not be as great. So we had our meeting this morning. The designers were showing us the areas of disturbance for various aspects of it, since each one has waste piping or electrical or, you know, water coming to it. And where those areas of concerns would be, and we're trying to take care of that in the first phase. Meaning we would take care of it now, so that when in the subsequent phases, we wouldn't have to tear up areas that we already just
Smart.
made pretty. It's one of the reasons why the press box, we
right,
start with the
yeah.
press box, we start from the inside and work our way out instead of from the outside working our way in, right? So we don't walk over anything, we don't damage anything as we go. That's another reason why the press box is first, since it's most interior to the project or most interior to the stadium. And then everything will flow from there, because all the work and the areas for utilities flows out to that parking lot that is in the top of the, you know, that parking lot that comes between the water tower turf fields and Dunning. Everything flows out to that area. That's where our sanitary lines are. That's where the electrical lines are. That's where the water lines are. Everything's out in that area. The only thing is different is the visitors area. Obviously, since it's down at the bottom, that would go out. And interestingly enough, our sewer line, that's the track that it takes.
Okay.
So the manholes in the circle down at the bottom are actually our sanitary line leading out from Waveney itself. So we can tie into that easily. So if we go back to the stadium entry, we looked at the project in a couple different looks. One was enhancing the stadium entry and making it much more dynamic and much more user friendly. It includes a nice entry and a donor wall.
Mhm.
Go to the next phase, next one. We looked at scaling it down. The original plan we were going to renovate the concession stand and put in bathrooms, and then have a much larger entryway for tickets and booster sales. Josh, go to the next one, please. And instead, we phased that down, and we're able to save a good chunk of money by partially renovating the concession, keeping the existing bathrooms, renovating those and bringing them up to code, and then having some storage areas, and then a booster club sales area, and then the ticket area and donor wall. So we were able to save a good amount of money during the value engineering there. Josh, the next one. Then the next was a Dunning Stadium press box. It started off as a 2-story press box to try to bring in everything that we were looking to take care of, as far as students that are there looking for a broadcasting career. We were looking for them to have an area for them to broadcast from and work through, and then home and away coaches areas and other areas. Given the fact of the cost that it came in at around 4 million, Mike, we scaled that down. We tried to scale it down to a lesser version of 2 stories. That was 3 million. And then we finally settled on a 1 million version, 1 story. The only ad that we looked at was looking at an additional vertical travel way, whereby an elevator and staircase, we're planning for it for subsequent years, so that we can actually either build on top of the roof or utilize the roof. given the fact that at the moment we start to go vertically, we've actually got to add an elevator, you know, for accessibility reasons. So the thought is staircase and an elevator if we wanted to get to the roof, because in Jay Egan's words, higher is better for every coach, right? The coach, the higher they can see down below to film from is much better for them. So the higher we can get them up, that's one of the reasons why we were looking at a 2-story press box, was to try to get them a little bit more elevated over the field to take a look. This would take care of that at a much reduced cost.
So Tiger, is the rooftop of the 1-story building going to be used?
Not at present. no.
It can't be accessed, people
We're-
standing.
We're looking at, we're asking them to design this area, but it's not included at present. That would be later. But the thought is that we would like to go to the ZBA. That's a ZBA issue on coverage. And then go to P and Z because that's an overall plan, and get the entire plan approved. Whether it gets implemented at a later date or not, we could do it in one shot. P and Z likes to look at a project in its entirety so that we don't piecemeal it together for them, especially considering that if we have to go to ZBA for coverage or setback distances. That's so we're trying to do that all in one piece. So then if we
Tyler, so what
Sure.
is the going back, the scale back concession stand? How much is that? And-
that'll get at the end. We have a
Okay, you
whole,
have all the
yeah, I got a
stuff.
whole thing at
Okay.
the end. I'm sorry, I don't have that number in my head.
No, 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 it's okay.
The look at this thing anymore. So the next one, Josh. So this was a view of the two of the second story press box. Josh, go again. And one more. And this was the overall layout as to how it looked overall, the bottom floor and the top floor. Home and away coaches, student athletes, a broadcast area for, or I should say students themselves, and a broadcast area for other broadcasters. Josh, go next. And then the 2-story, and then on the left-hand side is the 1-story press box, which includes accessible toilets on both sides. One that'll help boost our accessible, our toilet count, A, and B, given the fact that in the first phases, we're not looking at doing anything with the bathrooms. This will allow the coaches to go to the bathroom at halftime and not necessarily miss the third quarter. So the thought, we actually pushed back on this, and they came back and said, no, you want to have the toilets here. One, we get two additional accessible toilets, and 2, you don't have to worry about your coaching staff or your broadcast staff. They can actually utilize the facilities and continue.
So Tiger, just so I understand, so having spent a lot of time with Dunning, so the press box was going to be on grade at the top of the stadium. So there's no ADA issues. People can just get in, right?
Well, there'll be ramping.
Right, but
yes.
ramping that it has the right
Yeah.
pitch and all that jazz.
If you look at the top on the left-hand picture, top of it, you'll see a ramp that leads pretty much the entire way. On the far right, there's a staircase, and on the left, there's a ramp that leads up. It'll be
Because
accessible.
it's a really slight grade you're allowed with
That's,
it. Right?
well, yes, with railings, and we have a space in there. You're allowed a 1 in 12 grade or a 1 in 10 grade.
Right.
So at 1 in 12, we're allowed to come up. At 1 in 20, it becomes a walkway. This is a 1 in 12 grade. So 1 inch per 12 inches, 1 foot per 12 feet, right? So you
Right.
get 1 foot of rise for 12 feet of rise, 12 feet of run.
Okay.
So Josh. Then we looked at the concession stand. Again, we talked about the fact that we were looking at both service windows on both sides. Josh, next plan. So you can service it from both inside and outside. The thought is to make it another Mead Park Lodge, is the thought. To make it, Mead Park is continually used. It's almost, where sometimes people are turned away. And this would be, given the fact that Waveney is hopping every single night of the week, you do give another place for families to gather and get a good meal while they're out there. And I think it'll be another source of revenue for either for the town or for the athletic foundation at that point in time to then put towards, future field projects or restoration. Next slide. Then the bathrooms themselves, we originally had a much larger scale, as we talked about, for bathrooms, male and female. Josh, next picture. Given the fact that we were trying to boost the bathroom count, the fixture count, and when we went back to the state building official, they mentioned that any improvement is an improvement. The stadium was not built to code at the time it was. We only have 3 men's and 3 women's. That's nowhere near the limit the number, but they also feel that we shouldn't have to build towards the $44,000 line item. We get to somewhere in between the 300 and the 1,400, the 300 of daily use and the 1,400 of weekend use. So Josh, next one. So we scaled that down, and this is the version where men's and women's home toilets accessible from inside and out. So meaning that, what,
Family bathroom.
in a family bathroom. I missed that last time too.
That's why I'm here.
That's
And
why
and
you-
that's where in that picture, where is that? Both the lodge and
The original picture is to
It's in-
the, so it's behind the concession, it's behind the press box as you head towards the park itself.
Yeah,
There you go. So it's right behind the press box. It's actually shown as the original layout with the men's and women's. You can see where there's a space in between. That'll be one building. And then we'll change the fencing and the entryway so that you'll be able to enter or exit from both sides.
so how big is the lodge part of it?
Size wise, the lodge.
That where you
Concession
can get
stand.
something,
Concession
concessions, get
stand.
something to
I
eat
don't,
and
I don't
hang
have that
out.
off. I don't have that that dimension.
It's about the same size.
It's about yeah,
As the existing with the bathrooms.
correct. Yeah, Mike mentioned it's about the same size with, as the existing. I just don't have that off the top of my head.
So is it twice the size of this room or not?
Oh.
No,
Not even close.
Fraction.
Nowhere near.
No,
The home,
But
the
it is-
A
revised-
lot of hot dogs. I mean,
right, the revised home
No,
bathrooms
I-
are 42
Not the
feet.
concession, but where you hang out and the families. How much more is that in addition to the concession?
That's where all the fields are.
It's like part-
No, but you said you
She's
had
talking about the
added.
park area.
a-
Oh, the park area on the outside, the patio area.
Yeah,
It's pretty substantial, but it's not, it's not overly large. I think they designed a
Not like
nice,
this.
nice look
Okay.
at it.
all right.
Sorry, I
So the whole-
misunderstood.
I
what
meant the
you're
whole
So
thing, yeah, all
both
right.
the concession and the lavatory are 42 feet.
I don't, the lavatory is 42 feet. I don't know what the concession stand is.
It's listed as 42.
If it's
feet.
listed as 42, then it's 42 feet. Thank you.
All right. So
Yeah.
that's
So there
not
would
the-
be, there'll be
patio.
kind of, from visually, there'll be
Symmetrical.
symmetrical.
Yeah,
buildings.
that was mentioned this morning too about, when to construct and when not to construct, should we construct them together? Should we look at that possibility as well? So we'll be reviewing that. Josh, the next slide. And then this is the visitors bathrooms down at the bottom. It's actually student athlete bathrooms, if you really want to mention it. And it has storage facilities for Jay's equipment, well, not Jay's equipment, but lacrosse equipment, football equipment, and then their vehicles themselves. Josh, next one. And this gives you a look on the inside of it. It's been scaled down slightly. The number of bathroom counts is slightly less than what's shown here. Because we tried to scale down that as well, but the layout itself is very similar to what it is at present. Josh, next,
This is phase two, right? Or-
that is, right, we'll
Well,
go through the phasing in a second.
yeah.
So go next one, Josh. So
there's a
the areas-
page, James, on all four phases, what's included.
Mhm.
You're just getting the whole overview here.
Yeah,
Yeah, so the areas in blue are all the areas that we look to value engineer at the time. So you can see we value engineered press box, the home bathrooms, the concession stand, the ticket booth, the existing concession stand, and then the visitors area. So originally we were at a $13.8 million project. Now we're down at, less than 10 or just about $10 million. Josh, next slide, please. And this gives you a synopsis of where we were value engineering wise. We were at 13.8. And then we scaled that down to 7.8. But that 7.8 did not include the exterior work as far as the circulation work. That was around $1.8 million. I rounded that up to 2 million. So that's how you get from 7.7 to 9.7. I rounded it to $10 million all in. Josh, next slide.
But before you jump on that one, sorry,
Yeah.
just what are the asterisks on the press box? I printed it out. And I don't have it on my page, and I didn't have it in the.
Right, that's a 2-story, 3-story version, right?
One
So
story, two.
Okay,
one story,
all
yeah.
right,
So
okay,
You
gotcha.
went from the two-story at 4.3,
you.
a reduced 2-story at 3 to a 1-story at 2.
And the one story would have a roof structure that could accommodate expansion if needed, right?
Well, we're asking them to look at that, yeah.
Okay.
This number does not include that, but we're asking them to look at that and look at this vertical.
Stairway that you
yeah,
could add. to.
exactly.
Mhm.
Is value engineering, did you bring in an outside contractor to do that for you?
This was done in-house with us as far as we scaling down the project. in essence, wasn't necessarily a value engineering per se, it was more of a scaling down the project. Well, we had a cost estimator come in and give us an entire analysis of how much everything was gonna cost. You know, it was about 100 pages or so. So we had that overall analysis that gave us the guidance to say, okay, exactly where could we save money? And then at that point in time, then we started looking at what could we do with fixture count? Could we bring down the press box? What could we do elsewhere? Do we need, certain other areas as far as booster sales, things of that nature? And how could we bring the number down from the 13.8 down to a more palatable number?
That was making decisions.
That was
You made a decision here to have how many bathrooms at one point. They came up with an analysis and
Correct.
you refined it, if I understand this.
Correct.
Yeah, good. Okay.
So then the last part is just a 5-year summary.
Here you go, James.
So I tried to put this is in essence our budget sheet. If you take the top portion of it and put it to the left of the bottom portion, that's our entire budget sheet. It just won't fit on one slide. So it gives you an idea of what we're looking for, what we got in 23, which was the 300,000, what we're looking for in 24, which was a breakout of $4 million total. I have 2.25 in the other category. That's $2 million from the Athletic Foundation, 250 from ARPA, and 1.75 from the town. And then if you look at the overall 5-year capital plan, I tried to put it into 4 buckets based upon what we saw through the slide. So the first one was the press box, which included the site work for every other amenity that we were going to have to work through, right? Except for the visitors area. And then the next was circulation, which was the outside work. The next phase after that was the bathrooms and storage, both the home bathrooms and visitors bathrooms in the storage area. And then the last was the concession stand. I put that at the end in the hopes that the Athletic Foundation might be able to come forward with some funding for that. And given the fact that circulation had to be number 2. And then, after that, we got down to our student athletes and servicing our student athletes. And then the last one being the concession. Given, if we can't do it all at once, this was my slice at the apple. Anyone is welcome to take another try at it.
Can you thank you for all that. That's excellent. A good summary. I think that helps a lot. I just to make sure everybody on the board understands what we're trying to do tonight.
Okay.
This is a $4 million discussion tonight to approve. Right? I'll call that's really the press box, which is phase 1 here, and it's 4 million. I have a couple of questions about it, but that's what's on the table for us to vote on tonight. Okay. The other phases, as you've said, are modular. You can do circulation separately and you can do the concession 2 years from now, if that's the decision, and so forth and so on. I think I got that. Others may have questions, but I do have one just ticking and tying this to this. So for instance, press box, this says press box 2 million. This says press box 4 million. And so you've,
Oh,
Yeah.
So I have the site work that was associated with
in there.
the other aspects is in.
just
there.
wanted to make sure it was clear.
Right.
Yeah, I
So
understand.
that was, sorry, I
That's okay.
misunderstood. But yeah, the thought is that we're gonna have to walk through that area to build this press box and put the site work in for that. I'm gonna have to go through the area for the rest of it. I might as well lay that stuff down now versus having to damage it again.
That's why this doesn't tick and tie exactly, because I think you've got site work and site work. Where's the circulation
That's in the
On
next page.
you're talking on the project cost summary?
on this? Yeah,
Yeah,
24,
so what they
25.
did
It's the
was part of the
2
value
million.
engineering is they took that out.
on this.
Right.
But-
Oh.
So
Yeah.
You took
in
it out.
in essence, you need to look at that far right column that has 7.766 million. That you should add the 1.8 to 1.9 million of site
Okay.
work back to that.
Okay,
That gets to the.
that's
$10
what I
million
thought. I just want to make sure, and then how you
Why
got to the
it was,
10.
You know,
That's right.
we-
Doesn't exactly tick and tie, but it's okay. But I think that just did it.
Right.
Yeah.
That closed that.
But when you say phase 1 press box, we're talking press box, entryway,
correct,
donors wall,
correct.
and
Sorry.
all of the related.
That's right.
And in the press box, you're not going to deal with the current bathrooms and concession stand now, or does that include doing the current concession stand, swapping it over? Okay,
It's not
but you
just
are going to
site
get
work.
some additional bathrooms in the press box,
Yes,
right? So we'll have new entryway, donors wall, all the infrastructure, which isn't exciting, but you need it, and the press box.
And just remember the
This
4
phase one.
million, the 4 million in phase 1 does include 250 of ARPA.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so we're going to approve 4 million. ARPA may or may not work.
Right.
You have a concern about it, and that's okay. I think we just have to have eyes wide open on that. We'll use the ARPA if we can, but I think we're gonna
Yeah,
approve the
yeah,
4
there's a-
million
there's-
tonight.
There's just, there's concerns on just,
That's fine.
how do
Yeah.
I slice out $250,000 to put it to ARPA? I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
yet.
I think it's, I think we're all comfortable with that as a
Are
to-do.
we approving, but it says that our share is 1.7 million.
We have to approve all of it and then they pay us back. That's how that works. We always have to
Oh,
approve the
okay.
total amount
Okay.
of the project.
Okay.
And then the 2 million is coming from the donors, the 250 is either coming from ARPA or not. It's either, then it's gonna be bonded.
Okay, and the traffic circle that you talked about at the beginning, that's that circulation phase,
That's right.
Sure.
which is for $2 million
And that's a year from now.
a year from now.
That's
That's
right.
next year's
That-
piece of it.
Yes, yeah.
And that's entirely on the town.
Yes, yeah. I don't necessarily consider that to be the athletic foundation's purview.
Yeah.
Or, that's not their responsibility.
It would be Board of Ed, but that's to Chris's point. That's the town. That's the town. Same pair of pants.
Can I ask,
Different
on,
pocket.
on the press box, okay, is,
Actually, in
this
the
sounds
new
silly,
park.
but are we just building the building in the box,
Like
or is that
services, high school.
also purchasing
Parking
technology?
lot, parking
Or is
lot.
it using the technologies
it's
that the
Dinwiddie
school
Park.
has and moving it over? So does that have a technology component in that cost?
Town knows everything, but.
Yeah.
So
where's the
Again,
jurisdiction?
hang on.
the infrastructure that we're talking about is building the box. The way it currently works, the technology that the students use today is housed in the high school. It's
No,
high school
no.
equipment. They haul it out for games under a tent, broadcast from there, haul it back in. This infrastructure will allow for that equipment to stay
Got it.
in and be housed so that you eliminate that procedure on game days. I don't know what the useful life is today of the stuff they have purchased. I don't know
Right.
if Roman Sabulski's plans, he runs that program, is for upgraded infrastructure.
That's okay. That's not gonna be on them. That's
That
gonna be,
is
maybe
going
they
to
may
be
come
on
back with a
them.
bigger
That-
technology ask or something, but this,
That's not,
this is
that,
building the building.
that's correct.
Okay.
And to your point, it's not in a future year capital request. So I don't know what the useful life is.
What about on future years? Or is the town expected to pay for 50% of the $2 million in the 2025, 26 and 27 fiscal years?
25
So-
is 100% us.
I don't think, take it one at a time. On circulation, I think that's I believe,
That's
100% town
Uh-huh.
for safety reasons, all the things that Tiger just explained.
Yep.
Yes, it might be in the Board of Ed's budget, but it doesn't matter. It's a town. On bathrooms and storage, I'm assuming that's also on the town. Don't know.
Yeah.
Part of the athletic program with high school.
Athletic program, the students are using the bathrooms all day and, or not, during practices and during the season. and so
Exactly.
forth. And concessions, I don't know. It's a good question.
So perhaps concessions is kind of like the meat park
That was
lot,
a,
right?
that
Where
was a
baseball
closer
built that,
one.
right?
Yeah, that was a closer one where in the budget sheet that I did, as far as backup, I had it at a 50-50 split, but I'll be honest, I hadn't spoken to Mike about it.
Yeah.
So, but I put that in as a possibility for 50%.
Let's get creative. That one's a good one to get creative on. Maybe you do something there where, yeah.
I think this might be a good place just to me to get on the record on something. So when we looked at this, 2 years ago and really when we started designing in earnest 18 months ago, this was at least from the Athletic Foundation standpoint, it was a press box donor wall concession project. And what it's turned into, which I think is a good thing, has been a catalytic event to look at the entire site plan. And we gave and in fact underwrote Richter and Segan to look at the entire site plan and incorporate all of the comments that Tiger was getting, we were hearing, and others were hearing from the area. So that's how, a press box and donor wall project became what this is.
Mhm.
I think it's a good thing for the town. It's a necessary thing for the school and the town in some cases. But from the Athletic Foundation standpoint, that's where our donors were
Sure.
coming forward. They wanted the press box and a donor wall.
Sure.
And maybe a concession stand. So that's where we are. That's what we wanted to underwrite and that's what we're excited about. And all of this other stuff is necessary. And I'm glad that we were the catalytic
Yeah,
event.
yeah.
But I think that's how we got to
Good
this
try.
point.
No, I think that's fair.
I just want to be clear. Is the 2250 the donor's contribution of the 4 million?
Plus
of
our
the
2 million.
other, plus the ARPA.
ARPA's 250
Yeah,
of that.
right.
So it's 2 million,
So-
yes.
assuming ARPA comes through.
Yeah.
If not, are you raising the other 250?
It's coming, ours goes to 2 million.
Oh, ours.
We would
goes to
bond us,
two.
we would bond, we would do 50-50, so we would bond up the
Mm.
2 million. If the ARPA can't get used, but they're in for 2 million for this, is, I think we've been very clear about that, so.
So there's also this other part of the New Canaan Athletic Foundation where you're talking about turfing over the varsity baseball field. That's not included here. Are we going to see a 5-year capital plan about those plans?
I don't know that that would be a 5-year capital plan. I will come back to the board's off cycle with a separate restricted donation that is, is targeted for baseball specifically, and offer that gift to the town as well towards what the varsity baseball field at Kappa will cost. We are currently not as far along here there as we are here, in that the land is currently being surveyed. So we can get to this place to understand exactly how much that project will cost. I know how much we have technically raised for that. But I don't have a strong figure to say this is what it's going to cost, and therefore the Athletic Foundation can come forward with this gift and ask for the town for the remaining cost of the overall project.
Are there any grants left from the state, from the whole high school building project that are still available that we can request? for
My
something like
understanding
this?
on that is, I don't know, although I know I asked the question along the way to Dr. Lutzy and others to say, in some cases, the press box really should be considered an educational
I think
center.
so, and so should the safety issues. That would count too, at least if it's comparable. to
I've asked
15 years
the
ago.
question. That's about as qualified as I am.
Well, maybe Greg could look into that. He's more qualified.
You
but
you have anything on that? Has Greg looked at it
We-
or asked?
Worth
asking.
it's so hard,
Right.
it's so hard to get grants for New Canaan.
No, of course, it's
No,
it's
this
worth
was
asking.
covered. This is a
Yeah.
project that was already covered, already paid for, already closed out.
Well,
So
it's
maybe
helpful.
it could be expanded. It's not like it wasn't approved. I don't know. I mean, I think
worth
it's
asking.
worth
Okay.
asking the right questions.
So Norwalk is a $250 million high school. I'm sure they get the athletic facilities, on the state.
Yeah, of
So
course.
Or check it out.
Okay, so look, this came a long way. Mike, Tiger, this is terrific. I like the multi-year view of it because I think, as you said, it became something different and I think that's okay. But the multi-year view is a way to manage it. And we don't have to design concessions today. That's something that could be done over time. So we're going to have to move on the 4 million later tonight. I just want to make sure you have any other questions for either Mike or Tiger at this point. Anybody I'm sorry. Bob Hamill or Colm, you can take the presentation off, Josh. That might help. Any questions for Mike or Michael Chen for Mike or for Tiger?
No, I think Mike and Tiger did a good job answering most of the questions that I had. And I think that it's great that they're committing to the $2 million. We're only going to do 4. We could decide next year not to allocate 2 million or 2 million the year after. So I want to look at it as just the 4 million this year, as opposed to 10 million.
Michael?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
Bob?
I agree. No other questions. Thank you for Tiger and Mike.
No, we're lucky to have, this degree of generosity in the town and
Kidding.
Mhm, we are.
keep it up.
No, and as I said before, the private money shows up when it wants to, not
That's right.
not in sync with our budget process. So we get we get that.
I thought about this one a lot, because it kind of came, you guys were working on it. We just weren't privy to the whole conversation. And as I think about this, that it's a big contribution from the town. It's a huge contribution for folks. The $2 million traffic circle seems like we're going to have to do that anyways. So, this maybe is a catalyst for a better flow. So I can see that completely out. But as I look at this, I think, it's some money, but think how many people in our community are going to benefit from this contribution. And, we have other projects that we're spending a lot of money on and the residents aren't going to be able to use it without paying for it.
True.
So I think I'm supportive of this and I appreciate everyone coming up.
Oh, yeah. No,
Thank you.
it's
Coming up for it.
long-term, it's good.
Thank you. That's
So
good.
keep in
Amy.
mind, we call it the enterprise zone because we contemplated during the summer, we're going to have events where all the facilities are being used at once. And that's sort of why we call it the enterprise zone. The reality is it's an enterprise zone every weekend. you know, the number of thousands of
Pretty
kids
good,
there
yeah.
and parents is just amazing. And
Yeah.
so,
Okay, excellent. So we'll vote on it later, but I think we're good. Thank you both.
Thank
Yep.
you. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, and number 6, Internal Services Fund. So we did ask for a preliminary look at some thoughts. Ann's point of view, potential recommendations, nothing to vote on tonight. We're just going to go through where we are. We'll have questions for you to do follow-up with. Like to bring this to a vote in May or June, doesn't matter, but I'd like to get it done this fiscal year, whatever path we take. Okay, over to you.
I'll just pick out the main bullet points in what I gave you. So the Internal Service Fund is a fund that is used for when you're self-insured. So the town and the Board of Ed each have their own self-insurance fund. It's considered a proprietary fund under our governmental setup for our government activities. So the reason of a internal service fund is to mitigate the risk of our claims going up or down, either way, going up or down on it, so that we can keep the operating fund stable. So you set the budget in the operating fund, and any fluctuation, the internal service fund is the fund that's going to pick up that risk or benefit either way. So in addition to our internal service fund, we have certain other insurance protections. We have stop loss policy. So we have two different types. Both the Board of Ed and the town have the two different types. They have an individual stop loss, 300,000 for the Board of Ed and 150 for the town, which means until the town pays and the Board of Ed pays up to those levels, and then the stop loss insurance will pick up the differential on above those thresholds. We also then have an aggregate that once you take out the individuals that have hit over those thresholds, the aggregate will kick in when it's 120% over your budgeted claims every year. So we have that additional layer of insurance as well. So in
Is
addition,
that part of the stop loss, the aggregate?
the aggregate is part of the stop loss.
Yeah, so you bid up the individual and then in total.
Yeah, it's in total.
Yeah, okay.
And we have two layers of it.
Mhm.
Oh, sorry, I thought that was a question. So we also, in addition, a couple of years, the town put together a corridor policy on the Board of Ed side, that the ISF fund would hold on to 40% and the town would hold on to the 60% in the fund balance. Of that corridor difference, when I say 120,000, that 20,000 above your budgeted claims.
Mhm.
So your insurance company or your broker come up with what we say your budgeted claims will be for the year going forward, and that's what your corridor is calculated on. And that's, so you know where that 20% threshold would hit. I'm going to jump around. In talking to our broker, they said the norm of most of the funds, let me just find that detail. I think it was between 92 and 100%, 107% of annual expected claims. Very rare do they hit the 120 to go over that limit. We did have, say, in the Board of Ed last year, their claims were typically going at 14 million. Last year, they went up to over $16 million, but they got 3 million of stop loss back, which brought them back down to the average of mid 13.5 on their claims. So the stop loss definitely kicked in that capacity. Next, the other part of an internal service fund, especially when it's self-insured, is what's called the IBNR, the incurred but not reported.
Well, before you go there, just
Oh,
make
yeah.
sure everybody understands. We have both. We have an ISF and we have stop loss.
Yes.
Yeah, so, okay, it's not,
And the
it's not an or and the corridor,
And the
so that's right.
corridor.
Okay.
Another guideline for how, well, it's accounting too, for your IBNR, it's incurred but not reported. So at the end of every year, a calendar or a fiscal year, you're going to have claims that are going to be paid into the next year. So we make a calculation of what those numbers are, of what we expect those claims could be. One, from accounting perspective, so we can charge it back into the correct estimated year. And two, if you stop the funds any point during the fiscal year or at the end of the year and you stop that plan, what is that roll off and what's going to cost you? Some places do it by a percentage. Some do it by actual claims, because you can go and look at those actual claims July goes September. So the IBNR is important in the internal service fund, especially for the Board of Ed, for one reason. The Board of Ed can't go over their budget. So if they set their budget for the year and their IBNR comes in higher, their general fund can't pick up that fluctuation. So you would typically have an internal service fund and then calculate your IBNR in that fund. So it picks up that fluctuation again because the Board of Ed cannot go over budget by state statutes. Some of the things I've noted to just think about when it comes to an ISF fund. It's not, although it's a proprietary fund for government activities, it deals with the government activities for a health insurance plan. It does not come under state statute for the Board of Ed. So when it's saying, when there's a budgetary issue to say they have to fund their budget stays within the general fund. So if you give them 10 million for the healthcare plan, that's all they have to worry about is $10 million. If the claims go into 12, we deal with it on this side in the fluctuation in either that year or future years out. It's not a budgetary thing for the general fund because it's not reported in what's called the ESF. It's a report that's required every year by the Board of Ed. They do it at the end of August, and it encompasses every fund that the Board of Ed handles under their statute, which the ISF does not come into play. So it's not an issue from a budgetary standpoint, if I'm explaining that the right way.
Is that reported to the state directly from
Not,
them?
the
or is it-
internal service fund is not.
No, but
Oh.
at the end of the year,
The end of the year when
ESF.
the ISF, the only reporting the ISF comes into play is in our AFR. We don't send it, we send it in our AFR up to the state, but it's in our giant report. It doesn't go in separately any other way.
And is that audited or does the audit committee review that or is that a separate?
Well, we do tie outs with the auditors and claims and things like that. There is an audit from that perspective, yes.
So what, let me go back on it and explain it again. What happens in your examples, the Board of Ed gets a $10 million health budget included in their overall budget.
Yeah.
And their claims that year are 12.
If their claims that year are 12, you would either do a budgetary appropriation at that point from the fund balance to bring it into balance, or in your next couple of years, you would increase the allocation rates to refund back the internal service fund.
And that
If the-
assumes stop loss didn't cover it.
Yeah.
Right? It
The
went
net
over for a reason. Stop loss might have covered the 2
If
million.
the stop loss. didn't
Right,
cover
but I'm just thinking in absolute terms.
Yep. Just
So in that situation, they would be above, they would have gone beyond their budget.
They wouldn't because the only thing they're sending from their operating budget is 10 million. It's the internal service fund that's taking that fluctuation. That's the point of having it, that if you had a catastrophic year or you really you under budgeted, the internal service fund is picking up that fluctuation, whether under budget or over budget.
Hey, Ann,
Yeah.
that's a new point, a big point you just brought up. So if they cannot go over their budget, regardless what the claims are, then why were we been spending the last 5 years talking about their concern about going over budget on healthcare and they can't go over it when you're saying that's not an
Money.
issue?
Right.
Yeah, but it's always funded by the town of New Canaan. There's always.
Right, you know, but they.
so keep going.
Hold on,
It's a
hold on.
it's a great point, Mike. I was saying the same thing, but
Yeah.
so they have the 10 million. They have claims of 12.
Right.
Just making this, you following your example.
Yeah.
They still have to come up with 2 million to cover the claims. So again, assuming stop loss didn't cover it for whatever
Yeah,
reason.
Whatever their
Come
net.
up with it in that year. You wouldn't have to come, you could go into the I'm not saying it's a
Yeah.
good practice to do. You could go into the negative and then in the next year, you bring up the allocation rates to cover it. If you had nothing.
You can
else
make
in
a
that
special
fund.
appropriation to cover it.
Right,
You could do that
Right,
too.
but the
But
Board
you'll
of
always
Ed would
have-
have to come and ask for that special appropriation.
course.
And in their
if they
view,
needed to,
in
yes.
their view, they want to have everything.
But
But
Ann's, I hear you, but Ann's sharing an important point.
Yeah.
If I hear you right, they they need it at some point. They don't need it that day, that
Right.
week, that
Th-
month.
Their books are not over budget from from the operating fund and their ESF. Their books, they didn't go over 10 million. They budgeted 10 million. They
That's,
said,
that's a key point, Ann, because they've always said they're concerned about going over budget. You're saying they can't go, it's impossible to go over budget on that, you're saying.
right, because. I
But
guess
they
it's
still
kinda
got to
how-
pay the bill. I mean,
Well,
Yeah,
was-
but they will get the bill from
Okay.
us, is what I'm saying. They will get the money from
right,
us.
so they
either way,
tap the
but they're
bill.
not
They
over
tap the
budget.
internal service fund. to-
When
Right.
the budget was structured in such a way that all the health expenses were on our side.
That's the.
So their
next year
budget
goal.
was just an operating budget, $90 million.
That's
The
what,
other 10 is
that-
with us.
that's what Greenwich does.
Right, and that's
Well,
one of the
that's a
options that you would.
Now, let's
look
not jump
at.
to the options yet. Let's
Yeah.
finish up the overview, but that's an idea for
But then
sure.
There's no budget.
That's right. I thought we were.
Other towns have it and there's literally no budget problem. I mean, we have to put a number in a budget for the town's point of view, right? To cover town
Right.
and Board of Ed.
Right.
But we know we're going to pay whatever we have to pay. Again,
you're
let's not
always-
jump, I don't want to jump to the answer yet. Let's,
You're also always gonna have the IBNR. So if you have an IBNR in there.
you're always gonna have
you
an
should
IBNR.
have,
Yep.
Your IBNR will always pick up that overflow that you just
I
decided.
want to make sure everybody understands what IBNR is. It literally is the bills that came in, maybe a lot of bills came in June, in the fiscal year ended.
Yes.
So it was incurred,
Mhm.
right? We just haven't reimbursed it yet. So that money drags usually into August, September,
August, September, depending on,
Typically,
yeah, the company.
which is normal. I mean, you'd expect that, right? You have a bill in June, they don't submit it till July and it doesn't get paid. I mean, that's just the fiscal year has a clean cut.
It used to be more significant. You know, the health providers today collect right away. So,
Yeah,
you know, it
right.
used to be
Yeah.
much more significant.
That's right.
item.
That's right. But it is an item that's out there.
It is, and if you
It
decide. to
crosses
dis-
years.
Discontinue a plan, say in December, and you wanted to jump to a new plan January, you've got to roll off that old one. So you would, any point during that year.
You still have that
you still
liability.
have that
Of course,
liability out
of
there.
course.
But
That's
you
right.
also have that bumper in there that if your claims went under, then you're just building back your IBNR again.
So why don't you finish up with your key points and then we should talk about
Um,
your thoughts here.
So that was my. Oh, another point, there's an inherent savings as well. In when you set your budget, it's very conservative. Once May or June, brokers on both sides, town and Board of Ed, will then come in with actually what they call their allocation rates. And they're the rates that they're going to charge for the year. Well, because we've set our budget and our process, we don't budget by person. We do as a lump sum budget. So it's not position control. So if we budget, say, $10 million, the allocation rates come in that maybe it should only be 9.5. We still send $10 million over. The employee is going to pay the allocation rate, which is less. So although it might be a 20-80 split, when you do the math at the end of the day, it's not, because the Board of Ed in town will always putting in the budget, not the allocation rate. Because you're going to have either the claims came down because of the 12-month look back, so your experience is better. Your stop loss carrier comes in less, or because you budgeted more, you change your stop loss carrier, there's a savings there. So we don't do it by allocation rate by person in our systems.
And you're saying inherently, the numbers that we'll put in our budget, because we have that mismatch in dates, have to be conservative and higher. Because we don't know.
Well, yeah, and that's a typical practice. So what you
Right.
would normally see is then if it's by person by an a budget position encumbrance, when it would actually come in, you'd reduce down the town and the employee.
Mhm.
And then you would see that savings.
Sure.
But that savings goes over to the ISF on both sides. That's all. I'm just
Right.
saying that's how we manage it.
But it doesn't like evaporate and go away. It goes into a segregated fund.
No, it
It
goes into
doesn't
the
get
ISF.
spent for whatever.
Yeah.
It's just for
Yep.
that purpose.
Would you just cover the OPEB part? And then I think,
So the OPEB, this year, we're actually going to put $300,000 worth of retiree claims against OPEB. Because of the experience rate and how the ADAC is, the employer contribution, we're actually going to be able to start putting it. That's a big part of why we need to keep certain levels on there, because of the claims that we're currently funding through the operating budget. So we're starting this year at 300,000. Next year, we'll evaluate again based on the level of the fund, the actual trust fund. We are in talking with our broker or H&H, we are within that percentage, there's a comfortable percentage that to say, okay, now you can start pulling against it. So we started this year, and then we'll see at the end of this coming year how much the report will be July 1st. So as that happens, it doesn't matter what those claims are, they're covered at 100%. So
this is on the town side,
both sides.
on both
On
sides.
both sides. So what you would do at that stage is all the claims would be considered at 100%. Your IBNR will no longer be sitting in the internal service fund. It would actually sit in the OPEB fund, because now that's the shift of the liability.
Just for retirees.
Right. just
Yeah,
for
right. Not the whole
Right,
thing.
not for the- yeah.
And that's actually a different calculation going forward too, to lower the level of reserves, because those retirees are in that reserve number that we're saying.
Mhm.
They come out because they're 100% protected with the OPEB.
Mhm.
That would change our calculations as
Yeah.
well.
Because we saved them, we put the money aside to pay for that. Now we're
Right.
using it.
Now we
Right,
can
so
use
no
it.
matter
Yeah.
what their
Exactly.
fluctuation is, the trust picks up.
Good.
that. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um,
Now, what does Darien have an ISF?
I don't know, actually. I'll find out
And-
of the area towns which
And
have it.
yeah, we should find, does Greenwich, we should, for May, it'd be good to know, let's just say Ridgefield, Wilton, Darien, you know, the
I know
normal
Wilton has an ISF. It's one fund between the two.
between both, right, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, then if they have one, how does it manage? That's a great point. If they have a fund, how does it get done? So Wilton has one and they do it for one for the whole town. Greenwich, okay, it'd be good to know.
Definitely. I'll get that out to the group.
My understanding from the meeting we had, that no one really does what we do.
Mhm.
No.
That's what Joe said.
Yeah.
Not to this level.
Yeah,
no. I-
okay,
I know,
okay.
I
Yeah, and I thought what came out of that
Mhm.
meeting is that we're trying to get to all the benefits be just in one pool, right? That was the takeaway.
We want the best solution for the taxpayers, right? I mean, we have an expense, we know we need to address
Yeah.
it, we know we need to pay it. We have a lot of angst and back and forth and toing and
Okay.
froing.
Yeah.
For something that
But I mean,
seems.
that was my takeaway from that
complicated.
meeting, that everyone was like, okay, this is a transition year.
Yeah.
Next year, let's put it on
Yeah.
one place.
So some potential,
So
Rec-
potential recommendations would be either eliminating or reducing the corridor policy. We certainly, the town as a financial entity certainly can, from a, everyone's worried about the rating agencies, how they look at that. I know there's other towns AAA rated that are 10% fund balance and don't have the levels of reserves on their
Right,
ISF that we
right.
have.
We are fine.
So
the rating.
that's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
just financially from a
Oh, yeah.
Moody standpoint, the risk is fine for us.
Mhm.
So you could reduce or eliminate that corridor. The IBNR, you cannot, because that's something we have to do. from a
no,
town
that's just a
standpoint.
deferred expense,
Um,
yeah.
So, as I said, our brokers had looked at it and said, we run between 92 and 100%, 107%, which is something that we would be able to absorb. The other side would be to combine both the funds into one. You're still gonna have the same thing of, either you eliminate the corridor or not, whether you have it in two funds or one fund.
Mhm.
It's the same thing. Going into one fund we had a recommendation from the auditors, not a finding or anything, that to try and reduce the number of funds we have a lot of funds.
Yeah. I
So
agree.
Yeah.
I'm about to close out 5, combining these into 2 or
Okay.
into one,
Okay,
that would assist in that one as
that's a good
well.
point.
But they put all their benefits through their internal service fund, not just the health benefits.
That's what the 401As.
Except for
Their dental.
yeah. Well, pensions are not even on.
I don't know if their dental does. That's the only one I don't.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd
Yeah.
have to look at that. And they can be buying, you can separate them out. With the way we code it now, you can code it separately, so it's easy identifiable.
Let's be clear, there's a fund and then there's money in it,
Yes,
two different things.
yes.
You can have the fund as a pass-through entity and have some modicum, minor amount of money in there. The amount of money in it and how it's managed, I think is for this group.
Mhm.
If it's needed for some pass-through reason, I think, I don't know that we care.
Well, the fund is owned by the taxpayers.
Yeah.
It's-
No,
it's-
I
it's-
appreciate
it's
that,
a
but I'm
cu-
just-
It's a cushion.
I know, but you could have $100,000 in that fund. We don't have to hold 3 million.
No, but you'd have to definitely have the liability of the IBNR, that which without the funds in there could show a negative fund balance. That's the only. But as an entity, you wouldn't, because it's a government activity.
Right.
Yeah, no, if you were to put all your government activities, you wouldn't have that negative. Fund to fund, yes, but you wouldn't have that negative.
But
But we budgeted $16 million just because we had a bunch of it come in June and didn't get paid till July and August because of the delay of payment. Doesn't mean we went over 16 million.
Right.
Okay, so there's no, you never touch the fund. In other words, if we just spend it, it just basically you spend it, you don't spend it on July 1st and you don't stop spending on June 30th. It all lags a little.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think we all get that.
Yeah.
Yep.
That doesn't mean that the 16 million was overspent or underspent. It just the timing of it is a
Oh,
little.
no, exactly.
Yeah, that's so the IBNR doesn't really even come into play unless we're over.
Right.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
not
it
really an
becomes-
IBNR issue. That's just our,
Every year, it's already built in.
Yeah. okay.
The other one would be to take I think, Chris, this is what you were alluding to, take the plan over, that the town would manage the plan. So their operating budget would be 90 and we would take over that, whatever their budget
we
is,
pay for
13
anyway.
million, whatever
Yep,
it is.
yep.
And then we would manage that and make sure we handle the funding of that.
Yep.
They would do their funding normally, or we would do it in the how we would fund it, and then the ISF, we would be able to control if there's any fluctuations.
Yep.
And how
and
many
In
people?
that scenario, what happens, how would we account for the employee contributions?
It would be the same as what they do. We handle their pension and 401A, is it 401A? We handle that for, that's on our side. So they send the contributions over to us.
Non-certified.
Yeah, whoever's in that plan. Yeah, they send it. So it would be the same thing. They would just, the way we have the fund on our side anyway. So they would just send their contributions over to us, like we normally do when we do their payroll.
But from a health
so-
benefit point of view, what are they contributing? Let's use 15 million as the number. In other words, that goes into,
What do
so
you mean,
it's not like, I'm not sure the employees on the Board of Ed, are they contributing their dollars into they believe into the ISF?
Oh,
That's
they
the-
are.
Yeah, so
Yes.
that's the question. I think we have to make sure we don't lose track of that.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
they are.
They would still, that would still come over to us just
Okay.
like their, like I said, their defined
not lose track
contribution
of that.
plan.
And
It's
as
on
you
our, it
pay-
happens to be on our side.
And as you pay claims, you would have to adjust it against that balance of fees that have been paid.
Well,
Insurance
it would
fees
still
that
be
have
the
been
same
paid.
process. It would just be, they're just sent, whatever their allocation rate comes out to be, they would send that to us. It would be the same process.
But do we
would
have to
send-
account for it? Does it just go straight into the general fund or does it?
Oh, no,
have
it
to
would
be
go into
accounted?
the internal service fund,
that
stay
fund,
in there.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
So
it
you
would be the
kind of
same
still
process.
need that internal.
That's what I'm
service.
saying. If you need to keep a fund as a,
Not
as a, as a, as a,
Pass
as a
through.
vehicle for
Yeah.
managing this, I think that makes perfect sense. And if they've made contributions, they have to keep their contributions. The town doesn't want anything to do with that.
Right.
So I don't want to lose this piece of it. That's
No, the
important.
process would still all be the same. It would just be, we'd set the budget for them and then
Yeah.
that would get sent over.
Okay.
There's a lot to be said for that.
How many people are managing all of this on the Board of Ed side now?
When you say managing,
I mean,
Sig-
people,
Signet- Signet does
employees,
it.
number of people and time and
well, the fund is on our side.
I know,
So where their work is coming into play is their payroll every week and their deductions for their employees because coming over to us and paying the vendors. So paying the stop loss premium, paying their admin fees, anything like that. That's a warrant.
and
It's a
how
normal
would that be
process.
handled if it was consolidated?
That would just be this,
It'd
it would be the normal
absolutely the
process.
same?
They would do everything they would normally do, the payments, but we would set the budget for them.
But they use Cigna to administer their plan and we use
Anthem.
Anthem. So that they do
So
the
it's-
bulk of the work on the health plans. So
So that doesn't change?
No.
In other words, it's
We still-
it's just moving the dice.
Right.
It's not,
they
okay,
will continue to be
Just that-
responsible for their plan design,
yeah, I get that,
how they decide to negotiate with their employees.
yeah.
All remains the
Everything
same.
would
This is
remain.
only about the reserves.
Well, I just
What
think
about-
that could be a concern, so we need to address that
Mhm.
ahead of
Mhm.
time.
Sure.
I mean, I could see that,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, we've seen that they have objected over this
That's right.
over and over. What is going to make them change their minds if we propose this again?
Well, again, you got to be specific about what this is. We haven't proposed anything. They do not object, and you heard at the end of that last meeting
Mhm.
with the idea of dealing with the town side of this. It's a town fund. We can do what we want to do.
Oh, yeah.
We're
just-
taking it away from the
Well,
Board of Education.
TBD. I mean, that's TBD. What I was going to propose we do is every option that we think is reasonable ought to have what do we like about it? What changes, what doesn't change, so that we can have a rational way of evaluating these and go and look at that before we, again, I don't think we can jump to a conclusion. They want to make sure that nothing changes with how their employees are handled or managed or something like that. I don't think any of these things will do that,
No.
frankly.
There's no change.
Nothing
Yeah.
changing.
Nothing changes in that regard. I think there was a misunderstanding that they thought that A, that was going to change, and B, quote, their money was going to be taken by the town.
Right,
That's not on the
right,
table. No
right.
one's going to touch called their employee money. So you gotta be very specific about what.
Yeah, I'm
this
just
is, that's all.
trying to be sensitive to the fact that they just keep objecting about having the town take over the ISF.
Well,
Were you here when Brian, at the end of the last meeting?
Yeah, because
Okay.
that was a misunderstanding.
And he got
thought-
cleaned up. I think it
Yeah,
got cleaned
that
up.
was-
So that was
yeah.
huge. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, does that make sense? I think we have to take some of these options and put down what do we like, what don't we like, what changes, what stays the same. And I think a couple of reasonable ones will surface to the top that we can discuss and recommend. I wanted to have everybody have all this base of understanding so that you could ask Ann any more questions. Get ready for, making a decision here. Again, no rush to make it. We want to make it in May or June. I didn't mean to cut you off, Victor. Did that answer
Yeah,
your
just
question?
so the objection tends to be, the Board of Education don't want to relinquish our control over our part of the ISF.
Right.
That's
And so so if we come up with a plan, we definitely have to
Be aware of
address
that. Of
Yeah.
course, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Right,
And along those, I
but,
think the comment they always have is we have to have a fully funded
Yeah.
budget.
And they do.
Okay, but that's where, you know,
That's the
that-
issue.
that's
That's
what
where they-
has always been the
Yeah.
point that we can't.
Well,
so gotta
their
make-
budget funding request is $15 million.
No, I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying in terms of the communication and people getting on the same page.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
Right.
That's
And
right.
it's a proprietary fund, so it's not under their budget.
Right. So,
No.
so the quarter right now, which
I mean,
is,
That's a great point.
we have,
Yeah. it's the key.
we do 60, they do 40, right? Okay, so, and I think we internally said, okay, we think we're okay not segregating that 60% here. That was, I think, one of the budget savings and
Mhm.
looked at, okay. Right now, what's in the Board of Ed, there is the 40% for them. That's kind of agreed to for this year, correct?
For 23 or the budget?
The budget. The
The
budget.
budget, right now, it's treated as a transfer out of the internal service fund into the general fund. If that's not the case, we have to change that.
I'm sorry,
because-
the 40% or the 60%?
Yeah, we didn't do all of it. It was our
Just
side.
our side, just
Mhm.
our side.
Right, Josh? Our side of it, again, on 15 million, it would be 1.8. I
Yeah,
think what
I
we
think it
said
was
is
our
that
side.
our side, we never took the whole thing out.
Right, so they still have the 40% as proposed right now. I'm
No,
pretty sure.
on our budget, it's treated as a transfer in from the internal service fund on their 40% as $1 million on our revenue side. If that's not how we're doing
And
it,
you keep saying they, it's $3 million that needs to be funded, 20% of 15 million. That's 3 million. Again, I don't know if it's 15 or 13. I
Whatever,
don't have it in
yeah,
front of
right.
me. Let's just use 15. Okay, now say what you think's happening.
so the fund balance, the 60% is sitting on our side,
Right.
1.7 million.
Yes,
The 40% is on their side.
Right.
1.2.
Right now, $1 million of that is being treated as a transfer out of that fund and into the general fund revenue for the fiscal year 24 budget.
What did we do with the 1.7 on our side?
Who's general fund?
That would you either dissolve it and.
No, but
put
what
it-
did we do in the budget?
I thought we
Nothing.
transferred, I
Right,
thought we
that's my
transferred
point.
ours.
We took our million.
We should
didn't
take
take
ours,
theirs.
not theirs. And I think we made that
It was
clear.
very clear. We
That was a
had 3 million to
misunderstanding.
work with, $1 million we moved. It was from our 1.7, not from their 1.2. It was only $1 million out of 3 for starters. And it was clearly the million from our side that we transferred into revenue.
So
On
what-
two things, not only on that, but I think we did it on the town's fund,
Right, you did both of them.
two funds, two ISFs, town and Board of Ed. We moved $1 million out of the Board of Ed's ISF, the Board of Ed total, 3 million. We only took that million out of our 60%
Yep.
side. I'm certain of that.
Yeah, and the
so
same with the town.
The town doesn't have any on the general fund side. The town has just the ISF. So the million's coming from the ISF on the town.
Oh, I understand.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
But
it's
the
going into the
original
general
thought was
fund, but
both of them was coming for it. So we have to actually change the budget.
no,
because
I
right
still don't think we're saying the same things. There's two buckets of money,
Right.
1.7, 1.2. Town, Board of Ed.
Mhm.
We took $1 million out of that total sum
Mhm.
and put it into on the revenue side of our budget.
Yep.
We didn't take it out of the Board of Ed's
Mm-mm.
1.2. We took it out of our 1.7. That was the,
But then the mechanism, the way it is right now in the budget is not correct.
Okay.
Right now, to get the 1 million and you're taking it from ours means you're taking it from the fund balance. So you'd have to draw down the fund balance.
okay, well, whatever. It's
which means-
it's
so we
revenue
have
from
to
one fund
change-
balance or the other.
So we have to change the revenues, take out that $1 million transfer and then increase the use of the fund balance from 4 million to 5 million.
And not only does
Follow you.
it,
I'm not, I
Um,
just got
that the
lost.
1 million come out of the 3, reducing the 3 to 2,
Yeah.
it collapses to 20%.
Reduces-
So you don't have 20% anymore.
Right, that's what I'm trying to, so the original thought was the transfer was
Sure.
coming from the internal service fund, excess funds in the internal service fund, $1 million on both sides. That's how it's been treated in the budget as a transfer in. If it's going to come from, well, the town's going to come from the internal service fund, so that million stays. If it's not coming from the Board of Ed internal service fund, we have to take that $1 million out of the revenue as revenue coming in and we have to increase the use of the fund balance because to get at that money, it's sitting in the fund balance. So we
Yeah,
have to take the fund balance
makes
from
sense.
4, right, just from 4 to 5.
Oh, wait a minute. Hang on though, in our unassigned general fund, our 1.7 is not in there because it's
The-
assigned.
Not in the unassigned.
Okay, hold on,
We-
let's be
we have-
clear.
We have 1.7 assigned. to the
Yes, you're
fund
gonna
balance.
I
take-
know, but you're gonna take the million from that,
Yeah,
not from the general fund.
Well, you're
Yes.
Well, that
taking it from
collapses the
that, but
20%.
but you have to take that and make up the difference. Right now, you have a deficit in the budget. If we take that, we're not doing
I know
that
what you mean.
transfer
Mhm.
from the ISF on the Board of Ed side. You have a deficit of $1 million right now. So to make up that deficit, because it's coming from the fund balance, because you're going to take it from assigned to unassigned,
Okay, that's my
you have
point.
to you have to increase the use of the unassigned fund balance. Currently, we've budgeted 4 million.
I know, but we have it sitting over here in an assigned bucket, Ann.
yeah, we do.
That gets moved over.
You
I
need-
appreciate
no.
what you're saying, but it's a wash.
It's not in the mechanism of the budget right now.
Okay, well, that may be true.
Yeah,
We can
no,
clean
oh,
that
right, I'm
up.
talking.
But in terms of
strictly-
pure dollars, the $1 million is in an assigned fund. It's going to get moved out of the into an unassigned fund,
unassigned,
and
and
then
then-
it's going to be applied to from 4 to 5. I think that's correct. But
Right,
from
and we have to
a
take that
cost to
transfer
the
out.
town, we still have the $1 million coming out of a reserve over here and giving it over there. I think,
Yeah,
But
we just have to
doesn't
change the budget
doesn't-
document.
Yep.
Doesn't that give the Board of Ed the opportunity to argue, well, the 20% is not 20%
oh,
anymore?
it's on the table, Chris. Yeah, we need to talk.
Okay.
I think the whole point is, why do we have so much money in all these funds? We haven't even talked about the town side yet.
Yeah.
When we're sitting here with all this excess cash and reserves, that's the point. And if we can reduce the burden on the taxpayers by freeing up some of those unnecessary reserves, that's the whole point of this conversation.
Right.
It may mean that 20% goes to 10. That's exactly right. Could be,
Yeah,
or 15.
Well,
Can
then,
can I ask a question?
that's,
Okay. Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I just want to be clarified. Are we taking $4 million out of the unassigned general fund and $1 million out of the assigned general fund? Or are we taking $5 million out of the unassigned general?
I'll
fund?
answer, but and correct me.
Functionally.
The
yes.
$1 million that we're talking about is sitting in an assigned fund called the ISF. It's our side of the corridor.
No,
Well,
that's so no.
so where's our 1.7?
Our 1.7 is in the general fund on the operating general fund.
But it's assigned.
It's assigned in
Okay,
that general fund.
fair enough. So
Okay.
I think I'm still right.
Mhm.
It's sitting in an assigned portion of the fund,
Of our.
of
general
our fund, of course. Yeah,
Yeah,
of
yeah.
course, of course. So it's sitting in our, Michael knows, that $1 million is not in the unassigned pool. It's in the assigned pool of funds on the town side. We're removing $1 million of it from the town's portion of the corridor and putting it in the unassigned general fund, raising it $1 million.
Mhm.
Then we're going to end up taking it out and apply it to taxes.
Yep.
That's all that's in the budget, by the way. we haven't
Right,
voted.
right. That's what I want to
That's
make sure. We're only
Okay.
net, we're only taking $4 million out of the unassigned piece of our fund.
Yes, that's
Right.
correct, because you're going to add $1 million from the assigned to the unassigned.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
That's
Functionally, yeah.
That's
Mhm.
correct. That is
Okay,
correct.
I just want to make sure that we're
Okay.
not increasing the amount we're taking out of our unassigned fund to 5 million. Okay,
I have a
Yes, but not net.
Go ahead, Bob.
right, not net, correct.
question. I mean, well, I've always felt a lot of this is sort of semantics, but maybe that's the wrong way to put it. In terms of hard cash, the Board of Ed piece of the service fund, who is actually earning interest on that? I mean, I'm trying to get in a zero interest rate world.
Mm.
We sort of danced around, where this money was. We know the town's on the hook, so I've always thought, why shouldn't the town hold the money? But the reality is, now that we have interest rates, very positive, who is earning the money on these two funds, the interest?
The town is, the general fund. So because it's, even though it's a proprietary fund, it's for government activities. So that interest can be held by the general fund. So I have a ZBA on that account. So there's zero, at the end of every day, there's zero cash in that account. It goes to the general fund, and that excess right now is moved into the money market. So
Good.
the general fund is getting that. I've brought, other than one other account, I've set up ZBAs in all of them. So that on government funds,
And is that for both funds, the Board of Ed and the town?
yes, yes.
Okay. Good.
So that-
So in my
yeah.
mind, that's.
Good.
That's kind of what.
We need to wrap it up for tonight, but the question will be, what do we want to do to go forward? And what do we think is a reasonable amount of money to have as a contingency for, in addition to stop loss, to make sure we've got healthcare covered? Do we even want a contingency fund since we have a $20 million contingency fund? These are the things to be
Right.
asked. This is what we all have to agree on. And, you know, kind of in the May meeting, maybe June.
And then you said typically with healthcare performance for as people budget, it's between 92 and 107.
Yeah, I got that from our broker who went out and said the norms right now is that's what they experience. And obviously then the 102 must be when it's really catastrophic type of thing, when it goes up to that level.
You mean 107?
Or 107,
it's-
sorry,
yeah.
107, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And so we're,
So if you went 110,
there you go.
you know, so you get 10% and, you know, and if you had a catastrophic year, that's when you have,
And that's
It's
saying
half the
that's the
general fund.
claims that are outside of the
the
individual.
net.
So
the
with
net
everyone
expense.
else going, they're all going for surgery in 1 year, you know,
That's
and
right.
that moves
That's
that.
Yeah.
needle.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
And again, we need to look at the town bit of it. We haven't talked about it, but we do have an ISF there. We have a reserve of what, $500,000?
No, they're up at 1 point.
Yeah. Okay. Another $1 million reserve on the town fund, which we're self-insured for.
You know,
Just
another,
make sure we're following the logic.
another way to say this, right? 40% and 60% are both reserves. They
Yes.
don't have a right to come to the 60% unless they go through all of their 40%. They've never gone through their 40%.
No, that's
No,
the point.
no,
They've
right,
never
I know.
gone.
They've never gone through their 40%.
I know.
So instead of having our 60% sitting in an assigned balance, we simply say we have $20 million sitting here.
I'd rather zero it out. I'll be honest. With you. I
That's
mean, that's
why,
where I am.
yeah.
I mean, you
Right,
know, but
but-
that's not to
Yeah.
express my point of view.
Yeah.
But to just be clear there, when we moved the million from the town's ISF to the
Yep.
general fund.
Yep.
The aggregate claims liability corridor went from 20% to 12.7.
Yep.
Now, is that okay? Is that something we can do arbitrarily?
Well, we can,
I mean, who set the
It's a
twenty
town
percent?
policy, so it was signed on the town side.
Yeah.
So the 20% corridor is town policy. It doesn't come as not the insurance that wants it. It's
Nobody
not the
nobody
state.
requires.
no one
nobody
requires
requires
this. This is totally on us.
So this is just a longstanding
it.
tradition.
No longer,
Not even that long standing.
no
Probably like 10
law,
years.
no regulation, no accounting principle. It's a reserve policy
That's right.
of the town.
And no insurance company saying, oh, you have to have this.
I'm not
They're
sure
not
why
saying
we
you have
ever.
to have it
did this to
guidelines.
start
Yeah.
That's it,
So-
guidelines. It
okay,
depends on
so-
your risk tolerance.
The rating agencies don't look at this.
No.
We could take,
They go on
But
the
still,
municipality,
it
so
doesn't
someone
make
like New
sense.
Canaan's not gonna have that level of scrutiny compared to some, and as I said, I know of another place that, you know, they're only a 10% fund balance, AAA rated, and don't have these levels of reserves at all in the ISF, and still get their AAA every year.
They look at your income.
a potential, Josh, did we take anything out of the town's ISF to apply on the revenue side?
Took $1 million.
So that 1,200,000 or whatever is now down to 200?
Yeah, $1.5 million, I think.
Or
now.
it was 1,500,000. You're
Yeah,
exactly
so
right.
at the
Okay.
end of next year, we're pulling $1 million out.
So
of it.
we've taken that down to, again, we could zero it out. There's almost no reason to have something
Yeah,
there
there's no-
and on, especially on the town side, but
Yeah, but as
Why
Chris
leave
is
that
saying,
Money in there at all.
but what Chris is saying is fair. We have a deal right now that we're doing is 60-40. So if we're changing
the
our
20.
Yeah, yeah,
parameters
no,
of
we-
it, we just got to change it.
that's why we're having the meetings.
That's
Right,
That's
you
what
have
literally why we're,
Which is arbitrary.
yeah.
Right,
it's
right now,
arbitrary. We can
right in their
arbitrarily
budget, they have
make it 10.
40%
Yeah,
sitting there
zero.
this year.
Zero.
Yep.
So.
Okay, anything else on that for tonight? It's again, still in the middle innings here. Victor's smiling over there.
Nothing here.
Okay, Michael, you good for now? Bob and Colm?
Yeah, I'm good for now. That's
Okay,
helpful.
great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I've lost track.
And I'll be curious to hear what the other towns do and, you know,
Yeah.
what the precedent is in other places.
And we will not make a decision without the Board of Ed being on board,
Yeah.
full stop.
Of
I mean,
course.
obviously, we're partners in this. It's a town policy. We can change it, but we want to do it in a way that doesn't create stress. No need to have stress in the system for this. No reason to have all this money sitting around either. Okay. Audit report, since you're sitting there.
Pretty quick on it. So, as you know, the audit, we have 3 different types of financials in the audits. We have budgetary, modified accrual and accrual. So, what we gave you was a snapshot of, the, MD&A. So our net position changed, decreased $10 million. And from a full accrual basis, the reason, there's a lot of different things that go into that depreciation and other items, and pension swing with the value, but also the fact that we did a $10 million grant to the Board of Ed. I'm sorry, to the library. So that's a capital expenditure for us, but from the reporting aspect, it goes in as an expense. So it shows a net swing on that level, not a budgetary basis, on an accrual basis. It shows going from 203 to 202 on the first page between your government and your business type activities. I'm trying to hit on the big major points here. Again, you'll see that swing again in the net position. It actually is really a $25 million swing in the expenses, because you've got the 10 with the grant, but you also have, we had a pension swing. So I think it was
Like
a
everybody.
$7 million swing from it was a gain to a loss. And so we had that level of swing year over year. So it looks confusing when you're thinking it from a budgetary basis, but from all these things that we have to add back in from a CAFR standpoint. So the main one was the pension and the grant again. Our obligation bonds on the third page, it went from 99 to 113. That's a combination of new debt coming on. We did $20 million in December of 21. And then we had about 17 or so plus million coming off, give or take. Over the next, so we had 113 at the end of June of 22. Oh, between 23, 24, and 25, we have about 13, sorry. We have about 39 million coming off on the next 3 years, 39 million. In 25, we have 1.7 cliff. In 26, we have nearly a $3 million cliff.
Like that, yeah.
And right now, that's with our bonding that we're doing, or authorizations that we're doing. There's two schedules, what we authorize in the year we authorize it in, and the year we bond it, which is what's going to have the P&L effect. So trying to mirror that in with these cliffs right now on the bonded debt.
You said the 39 million reduction was over 3 years? or
3
five?
years.
3
Yeah, it was at
13
13, and
But we're
Well-
going to add back
no,
40%.
yeah, oh, no, this is straight showing you if nothing else happened
No,
right
no, I
now,
just-
to
that's
show
cap-
that we have those
That's
cliffs coming.
capacity.
Yes,
That's
yeah,
that capacity if you want,
yeah.
plus
So we're
maybe
dropping 39 million.
a little bit more. but-
Cliff generally means something bad. This is a good
This
cliff.
is a good
This is a
cliff.
good clip.
This is a
Exactly.
very good cliff.
Exactly.
Good,
Yeah.
To be
that's
on.
worthwhile saying.
Right.
Excellent
I think
clip.
we can fly off this one.
We're just reflecting our conservative amortization policy with most of it in 10 years, 70% in 10 years. So that frees up space. That's how it works.
Yep. So it brings us to the last page is the net position and the general funds assigned and unassigned. This is for all governmental funds, which brings it in. But when we talk about our general fund, we ended up at $28.8 million. We have 19.9 unassigned, and we have 8.8 assigned. Of the 8.8 assigned is the subsequent year budget of 5.5 million of the fund balance we're using. We have 1.7.
Which we don't always use.
No, we don't always use, but we have 1.7, the Board of Ed corridor, 60%. We have some heart and hypertension accruals, compensated balances accruals that we have to have reserves, and the Board of Ed encumbrances. Our P&L effect for the whole revenue expenses was $1 million, 1.1 million. So instead of drawing down the 5.5, our net between our saving, our revenue and P&L was 1.1.
That was for the year that ended a year ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
June.
Yeah.
Yep, June.
Just keep
22.
that in mind. I don't know. We'll pin Josh down on that later on his prediction for, yeah.
This is our cash.
We might save that for May, but.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, May's fine. It's too early.
You
I hear you.
can-
I hear you.
yeah,
Oh, you're
it
right.
is.
It's fair. That's fair.
And
It's a good answer. That's a good answer.
just to make sure I understand this in the last page when in 22. So our unassigned at the end of 22 was 25.5, right? 24.49. Am I
Which
looking
page are
right?
you on?
It's on, but yeah, the sheet.
The fund balance net position?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't picking up the right numbers. Okay.
Okay, am I right there? And 2022 that the general fund unassigned is 25.49. Is that right?
That's all our general fund. There's other funds that come into that. That's what I'm saying where
That-
this, yeah.
but that's our, okay, and then our assigned is a 3.5. Does that include like ISF
No,
and
it's
stuff like?
3.3.
3.3, sorry, glasses. And the assigned, is that where we currently hold our corridor or our ISF? Right?
Yes, for some of the other ones, yes.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure. And then the other governmental funds, that's.
Oh,
kind of-
sorry, not that you're saying ISF. ISF is below under the proprietary funds
Oh, okay,
in this breakdown.
got it.
Oh, there it is.
Okay,
Because proprietary funds are you have business fund, which is the Waveney, and you have an enterprise fund, which are your internal service funds.
okay. So from like, if people were bond analysts looking at this, they say, oh, New Canaan has about 59 million in cash. All in.
So we have,
And they would say that's equal to, 60 million on 160 budget, which is like a cash balance of 40%, which is really strong.
so the health,
that
well,
was-
this is a year old, so it's
Mhm.
somewhat irrelevant. But
That's right.
as of a year ago,
Okay.
we had 3.9, almost $4 million in the town and the Board of Ed health
Mhm.
fund reserves.
Yes.
May not be I don't know what the numbers will be this year.
And I attached the last two that the audit committee themselves had, or the last page that the audit committee had put together, just like bullet points on that, we had a clean management letter. And they congratulate George, is coming off the committee. He's staying on until a newest appointee comes in. And so unless there's any particular question on that.
No,
Beautiful.
thank you. I know it was a lot of work to get done and some just multi-year cleanup of things, but great job. I know it was 90 days of torture the last few months, but anyway, great job. And how do you feel about, where things stand just structurally and all the accounts and the ledger and everything kind of going into, wrapping up this year and knowing what you know?
Yeah, we've a little bit more, but nothing, nothing that we can't get done and changing a little bit of the structure to simplify things, to make it more efficient going forward.
Okay.
Putting in processes for year end
Okay.
to come in front of this board, things like that. So it'll always be an annual process.
Okay. Do you have recommendations you want to bring to us? Things?
Well, I'm going to be bringing up closing old projects. You have to deauthorize
Yes.
old projects.
Yep.
And
Okay.
also
Yeah.
excess funds that we have bonded,
Mhm.
that we have excess funds on. We can put them to other projects
Yeah,
right now that
good.
aren't bonded but authorized, because I want to be very careful of the 18 months. So I'm.
Do you have
looking at
a
that.
sense? Well, I mean, I guess is that a May conversation or
May,
June?
June, I'll
Okay.
bring it, because I'd like to get
Okay.
it done before the end of the year, so it's clean for the.
So we
audit.
may approve bonding for things that we may not actually need bonding for if we use those funds. I don't know
Right,
what
well,
pool
we-
you're
we
talking
have
about,
The
but
23 bonds or
Yeah.
projects we're doing right now.
Yep.
If any of them are going to be done within the next year, there's my 18 months and I need to make sure they're
Gotcha.
covered. So
Okay.
that's what I'm
okay,
looking at right
all
now.
right. We'll pick that up then in May or June. Okay, any other questions on the audit? No?
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. All right, you want to do a quick, I know we're tight on time here. We've got a lot of work to do still on the bond authorization. So financial update, Josh, maybe headline news on revenues and, yep.
Sorry.
All right. Let me just share my screen.
Do you have any approvals on transfers or just
No
reviews?
approvals, just review.
All right, you can skip that whole line item. Excellent.
Okay, so in front of you and on your tablets, you have the year-to-date financials as of March 31st, 2023, which represents the 75% mark through the year. Starting on the revenue side, overall, we're at 99.3% of budgeted revenues. That is just shy by 1 million for the year. Over at the headliner, tax collections at 101.14% of the budget. Last year at this time was 0.1% lower than what it is now, budget to budget. January supplemental came in, I think it was a few $100,000 higher than the 600,000 budgeted. Make it bigger, sure.
That's why we print these out. I don't know how you
Yeah.
guys look at those tablets. I go blind.
That's as big as I can make it,
I'm
unfortunately.
trying to look up there.
No, It's hard enough.
Some people
on your
are gonna look at
tab,
it, that's the
yeah.
point.
Building permits and conveyance fees, they're at 77 and 58% of what was budgeted, trailing by 390 and 590,000 respectively. So they're obviously lagging behind a little bit. There's some seasonality, especially with conveyance fees that take a tick up in May and June. So we'll obviously see those come back a little bit. Building permits, I think, are pretty steady generally through the year, except they have an uptick in October and the fall time of year. Parking is at 64% of what was budgeted, the 890,000. But I think it's probably going to end up a little closer to what actually was budgeted, the 890,000. It's short 317,000. We have about 95,000 that we know of that we're just waiting to book, so that can be added in on there.
Oh.
There's another 50,000 of expected business permits that should be coming on hopefully around June. So that brings it down, to closer to 150,000. And there's still going to be lots and the meters and tickets. Although tickets are down year over year, I think that's just a trend we've been seeing. So hopefully that'll end closer to that 890. In terms of the other lines for revenue, the BOE excess cost grant, that's down 500,000, but it's really, we're just waiting for the second half of that payment to come through. The same goes with the ECS grant, which falls under the other revenues line. That's at 87% overall, but that's another 200,000 that'll pick that up. Any questions on the revenue side of things?
Being at 100% at the end of March is a pretty good thing. Obviously, we budgeted $1.5 million less than that, so we know we'll get that just by virtue of collecting that extra 1.5%.
So what's your projection?
Yeah, what's your revenue projection? You kind of got my attention here.
Well, but that's already been collected.
Conveyance and permits are the big one right now.
That's a big part of it, but that's in here.
Yeah, it's in there. It's already collected.
So
It's in
tax
the
will-
bank.
Tax is even higher than this again. It's about 1.9 right now. It's 200,000 difference, but our biggest one is conveyance and permits. So that's the ones we're watching right now to see when that uptick starts.
Yeah. I think for next month, when calculating the mill rate, we'll have a better feel of where we'll hopefully end up, what fund balance might look like at the end of 23, or at least as close to a prediction as we can.
Budgeted revenue was 156 and we've collected 155. I read this right. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
I gotta think everything you just said puts us above and beyond.
Oh, we'll definitely,
Yeah, we're gonna beat. The question
we'll
is how
definitely
much.
break.
How much
Yeah.
above?
Yes, that's
You're not, you're hedging, you're 2 million? We get you pinned
Above.
down here? We're gonna get 2 million over?
Keep it at 1.3.
Well.
1.3.
Yeah, just
No,
by the
I-
fact that we only.
What percentage were you last year?
Five, let's get it.
At this point,
At
it
June-
was,
What percent, June 30th last year? What was it?
Was it
Oh,
99 last year?
No, no,
March? That seems high.
well, last year, I know at this point, we were at 101.
Oh, okay. so
Yeah, no, we
there you
were
go.
Yeah.
way
Little
over
higher.
this time last year because.
Conveyance.
Conveyance
Conveyance.
blew it out.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay.
Any other revenue related questions?
No.
So expense on the expense side overall, it's at 70% of what was budgeted at the 75% mark in the year. We're expecting at this point to end around 100%. Issues obviously have come up in terms of energy needs or legal fees, but we've been able to cover those with savings in other budgeted lines such as debt service interest or contingency funds or things like that. So we're pretty good on the expense side of things.
So we don't break out the interest income.
So on the last page,
No,
well,
you got that.
breakout, there's one line that is
Yeah.
interest on investments and an unrealized
I
gain.
think
or
the budget was
losses.
800.
I think it was 800. So on the last page, there is
Yes.
the total other revenues, and it
Mhm.
should fall under that category. You may have to flip to the second to last page. Unrealized right now is it a loss of 130?
130, but probably statements coming in, it's probably gonna go up to about 200.
And interest on investments, I think, is around 100 something. Let me see, go look, 100.
Interest.
Yeah, it's 500, sorry.
Yeah.
A little bit off there.
The-
And we had budgeted 500,000 for
Was
it.
budget. okay,
Yeah,
the budget's-
we had bumped that up for
Yeah,
24
well,
too, I
We
think.
should beat it by a couple hundred.
Yeah.
Should, yeah, because we've got.
Well done.
money sitting there.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions for Ann or Josh on where we are? Michael, want to maybe take the, or Bob? Anybody?
Nope.
Okay, okay.
In terms of transfers, there's 54,883.65, just broken up onto various accounts. Nothing really of note,
Mhm.
nothing to approve. That's it.
All right, okay. If there's nothing else, let's get to our last item here on the agenda, which is the appropriations and bond authorizations. So we have 17, I believe, if the summary is correct. And I guess we just have to tackle them one at a time. You're gonna make us vote on each one of them, right?
Yeah,
All
I
right.
think we better.
I've asked twice. I asked twice.
Is there anybody who thinks?
No, I don't think
Please
here,
help.
it's the right way to do it, right way to do it. The only thing I might suggest is there one or two, so two things, team, we're gonna vote on all these, if there's something that we're not ready for, or there's some reason we can move it to May. So there's no magic date today. We can absolutely vote on these. I'd like to get them all done so we can keep it rolling. But one in particular on the appropriation of 5 million for the training facility. I don't think that's ready for prime time. We haven't seen that and gotten the details or anything on that. So I'd like to just defer that one until May. If
I
anyone has
agree.
any objections to that,
Yeah,
but I think,
no,
I just don't
that's
think we're
all
ready for prime time on that
I'm
one.
all
So
for
let's, so now we're down to 16. And you want to take it one at a time?
Yeah.
I suggest you just read it. Make sure everyone understands it. Any
Yeah.
questions? Tiger's here. Where's Tiger? Oh, Tiger's here. We have any questions on any of those? And let's move them.
Okay, resolution authorizing an appropriation of 215,000 for the tax assessor 2023 project and the financing of said appropriation by the issuance of general obligation bonds of the town and notes in anticipation of such bonds in an amount not to exceed 215,000. Questions?
So I'll just do questions, any clarity, any concerns? Otherwise, I can do a.
Yeah.
We can do a vote. Nobody's excited about that. Okay,
All right, we're good.
Motion to approve
So move.
the resolution. Second, that was Chris. Second, James, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? None. Okay, thanks, Judy.
Okay, resolution authorizing an appropriation of 210,000 for the Information Technology 2023 project and the financing of said appropriation by the issuance of general obligation bonds of the town and notes in anticipation of such bonds, an amount not to exceed 210,000. It's a bargain.
Question? Seriously.
It
Question?
is.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Victor.
So these were all approved in the 2024 budget, correct? All of these
I
17.
asked for a list of specifically what we discussed. What we discussed for information technology was the 130,000 for the IT hardware software and 80,000 for the WAN software hardware.
So just so it's
specifically.
A
already,
good context question.
Yeah, no,
Good
it is.
question.
it's
I
baked
agree,
into the
yeah.
budget
It's-
already. And but so in the budget, we only get to approve the budget in its entirety. But here, if we actually are not in favor of some of these issues, we can vote against it.
The town.
You can
the town-
discuss it now
You
if
didn't,
you-
you approved an operating budget. The town council approved an
Yeah.
operating budget. These items were in the first year, the
Yeah.
capital item,
Mhm.
but they weren't voted on. This is your opportunity to vote on, 'em. And then the
Oh.
town councils get, you can.
Oh.
Yep. Yep.
Oh, so
Thanks for asking the question, Victor.
Yeah.
It's a good process question.
good. Thank
So
you.
this is our bite at it. I would also say, it doesn't mean that we're issuing all these bonds next Tuesday. You know, we still need drawings. We need, the things that still need to happen in some cases, but we can authorize funding because it gets things going. It basically opens up the door. They can't get started without some funding. So, so that's,
You can't spend part of it without the bonding. In other words,
Yeah,
you have to
that's right.
move it along. Yeah.
So town council can take a look at, they could reject it.
Yeah,
They may
sure.
say that we don't want to support IT.
Oh, I was under the impression that when we voted on the budget, we actually were voting on the capital budget as well as the operating budget.
No.
Can't- Always two
No,
steps.
it's two.
Yep. Nope, that's fine.
Yeah.
Good question.
Yeah. All right, did we vote on?
No, we
this?
did
All
not.
right.
I just want to, we had a motion. Chris, I think, made the motion.
I'll make I hadn't, but I will.
But motion second.
I'll second.
Amy, all in favor of the authorization for IT? Opposed? None. Okay, so moved.
Okay, resolution authorizing an appropriation of $1 million for the fire equipment 2023 project and the financing of said appropriation by the issuance of general obligation bonds of the town and notes in anticipation of such bonds in an amount not to exceed $1 million.
This was the truck?
This is
Don't
the
forget,
bumper
remember-
replacement engine 2.
Moved.
Okay, Victor,
Alright.
Victor, second,
Well, I
Judy,
can't do
oh,
that.
you can't?
No, I can't do that.
Second.
Amy, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? So moved.
All right. All right, resolution authorizing an appropriation of $136,216 for the Emergency Management 2023 project and the financing of said appropriation by the issuance of general obligation bonds of the town and notes in anticipation of such bonds in an amount not to exceed $136,216. And that's the radio hardware software update agreement.
Motorola.
Yeah.
Motion to approve,
So moved.
Chris, no, second? Bob, yep, go ahead, Bob Hamel, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, none? So moved.
Okay. Well, I couldn't figure
that's
it
great.
out. till
Great.
these- All right, hold on. Did I do the 100? I did the 100.
Yeah, 280, that's the
So
280.
I'm now into
The ambulance,
All right.
280.
easy. Resolution authorizing an appropriation of $280,000 for the EMS ambulance 2023 project and the financing of said appropriation by the issuance of general obligation bonds of the town and notes in anticipation of such bonds an amount not to exceed $280,000.
You recall this, yeah, the ambulance.
That was just the
Yep, okay.
ambulance, yeah.
Motion,
So moved.
Victor, Amy, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, none? So moved.
All right, there's going to be discussion on this, I think. Resolution authorizing an appropriation of $360,000 for the police vehicle 2023 project and the financing of said appropriation by the issuance of general obligation bonds, the town and notes in anticipation of such bonds in an amount not to exceed $360,000.
So that was for the 6 vehicles plus equipment for 3 of them.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's 6 police vehicles and equipment.
Questions?
So the question that I have is, since these are vehicles, yes, in the aggregate, it's $360,000, but individually it's 60. Would it make more sense to finance them out of tax supported capital as opposed to bond?
You know, keep on, we're not bonding these for 20 years. Given their life expectancy, the most you could bond them is for like 10 years. And you may use 5-year notes or 7-year notes to bond
Yeah,
them.
well, I
So,
don't think they'll last 10.
I don't think you, I don't think you can do
Actually-
10.
well,
No,
I think you have to
probably
do,
not
I think you have
on-
to
no, on
do,
it.
you would be much
I
closer to
think
useful
the way
life.
that these
Bond
vehicles
council
get
wouldn't let
beat
you.
up, it doesn't make sense to put them in a bond.
I think they said they last them 7 or 8 years. That's it.
Yeah,
They
well-
max out.
I would be surprised bond council would let you go more than 5 in these. I would just be surprised. And
And so I thought that we had debated this many times, that
Mhm.
things like the police cars.
so you had a $50,000.
We did.
We do. His point is that they're all in the 50, 60 range or 60 range, and it
Yeah.
just happens to be bundled together this year.
Yep,
It's one big
The
that's-
lump.
capital management committee recommended that we
75.
consider 75 to 100 as a cutoff, and we said, well, we don't need to change the number,
that's
but we
right.
can administratively
You're right, Chris.
talk about it. Well, I'm talking about
Well,
it.
here's the problem. You've already
We
approved,
could, yeah.
you've already approved an operating budget and you
Oh, yeah, I
can't.
have no problem against buying the 6 cars.
Yeah.
I'm just asking which, that we should not bond it.
Well, but then you don't have it in your operating budget to pay for it out of
Yeah,
capital.
it wasn't in the operating.
You'd
Well,
have
we
to
didn't
do a
put it-
transfer, yeah.
Now,
Too clever by half.
what we could do. Well, first of all, if we really feel strongly that we don't want to do this and again, we wouldn't bind it with 20-year money, we could table it. And think about do we need to do 6 at once? We could do 3 now and 3 next year.
No, they need the
Um,
cars.
they need-
I'm just-
And they took a pass because of COVID.
Yeah.
And so they need to catch up. I have no problem with the 6 vehicles.
Mhm.
My only question is, would this not be more appropriate, given the life expectancy of
Mhm.
these
Mhm.
assets? If they came out of the tax
It's-
for
it-
capital.
it's a
Now,
good- Yeah.
that we didn't approve it in the operating budget does present a bit of a problem.
Mhm.
There's
Well,
always next
he-
year.
But here's a question, Ann. So when you're closing out all the projects and you think we're gonna have some leftover money, but that, can that be used for this, or does it have to go to tax supported cap? I mean, because we only bond what we need to, right? You know, so if we have cash, are we allowed to allocate it towards this?
It can only go against, if it's current, it can only go against, authorized but not bonded projects. So if this vehicle.
Oh.
the vehicles were.
Well, there you go.
Do that, yeah.
There we
I
go.
think that's the answer. They're
Yeah.
authorized but not bonded. So we would
Yeah.
authorize the purchase of them, but use those funds. I don't know, how much, what are we talking about for funds that's going to be available?
We could have up to $1 million.
There we go.
Well, that solves the
Trying to
problem.
finalize that right now.
Okay. Problem is if we don't.
Well,
Is there any reason, any way we wouldn't have $1 million?
Yeah.
Is it more than $1 million?
Right, that's why Josh is laughing behind you. He knows it's $1 million. He's, all right, well, that is a pretty elegant answer to the question.
I think that's the right answer, but
That's a very. good
Okay,
answer.
all right. I just don't want to find out it's 250 and we just spent 360 and then we have to make a special appropriation. Steve's gonna give us
$90,000.
grief. It's not gonna be good.
can I just refresh my memory? What was the time to order them and get them? Was it, it was over a year, right? Well, is it closer to 2? So
I
I
would have
think,
said
we-
18 months.
all right, but we need to be careful on this because.
We need to order them.
Yeah, I know we need to order them, but our timeout.
That's what it was.
It's open.
Yeah.
There's an opening for when you can order these.
And this has to be funded to get the order.
Yes.
Okay, I like this suggestion of authorizing it, but, and if you're good with it,
Yeah.
we can use, let's not forget this. We're gonna do this and not bond it. We're gonna authorize the expense and we're gonna use that capital left over.
It has to be an appropriation.
Yeah, it
Yeah, we
would.
can
Yeah,
approve the
yeah.
appropriation. We can authorize, approve the.
No, we do that now.
appropriation
Yeah.
We need to do that because they
without
need to get
approving
ordered.
the-
My point is they need.
But it's a different, sorry, but it's also,
Differently.
it's a different resolution because we're
Yes,
not,
it
we're,
is.
we're, it's,
Not this one. Yeah.
we're authorizing appropriation,
Well,
but
it stops,
it's
it
not,
stops with the second clause.
yeah.
I think you're actually pulling it out of this and making it a special appropriation,
think
which
you
has to
are.
be, has to go through a different advertising process and everything.
I think that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's
All
right.
right, if
Yeah.
everybody's okay with it, I think the right answer is let's table this till May and put it back as a
No,
special
no, because they need
appropriation.
To order.
Oh, wait, is the window now? No, that's not now.
Yeah, the window's now.
But Ann, didn't you just
But it can't
say,
come in a-
didn't you say we should
during a budget
authorize it,
season.
but then we just don't issue the bonds, right?
Yeah, I just don't issue the bond.
Okay,
It's come before you to say, I have this money, I would like to allocate it, close out this project and put it to this project.
Okay,
Right.
so
And
this
then we
has
don't
to be-
allocate the bonds
Yeah.
This
and
has,
we don't use the
We
bonds.
authorize them, but we don't issue them.
Okay,
this has to be,
We can authorize it,
let's
but-
approve
but
this
not
as
use
it
it.
is with the gentleman's understanding that we're going to fund it out of monies we already have.
you okay with that?
It's great.
I think it's great. So
It's great.
Okay.
So how do you want to reword this?
hang on,
So-
I don't think we're gonna reword it at
If
all.
they're not,
I want to make sure
okay.
Michael, Coleman, Bob are good.
That's right.
The,
Yeah.
the suggestion is we just move it as is with the recommendation that what we're likely going to do is not bond for this, even though we could have that as our backup. Plan A is actually to use the unspent capital and apply it that way. So we wouldn't bond for it.
Yeah, that's good.
That, so, but we have to move it tonight. We think we have to get that to get done tonight.
Yeah, they need to order those cars.
Yeah, okay. Is it, everybody understand? Everybody okay with that?
But we're just gonna take a
This
vote
is just-
then?
yeah.
We're gonna
As is.
we're gonna move it as is, but
All
we
right.
all understand that what we'd like to do is circle this one as a special appropriation from a different source.
Okay.
Chris, you good with
But I
that?
move this.
You okay with that?
Yeah.
You okay, so Chris,
You know, I,
Don't we have to do that another night
No,
or
it's-
can we add that?
I think the
to-
problem is here, in order to use that other capital funds, it has to be a capital project. So it has to be authorized by the town council as,
we'll
That's
do
right.
that.
so.
They
well,
can do that.
They can
yeah.
understand it too.
Oh.
They would get that. Yeah, sure.
So-
We-
The
No,
understanding,
No?
so moved.
I want to make sure that
No,
everyone's point is clear. Go ahead.
no, the timing, if you're using other funds to pay for this,
Mhm.
funds that are capital funds that you have available, this has to be a capital project. If you're just appropriating it,
Yeah, we can.
No,
appropriate
but Kevin, we're going to
this
approve it
year,
as written.
is This project.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to come in front of you again to say, I know to authorize these funds to go from here to here. And I'll have an actual document that you read out like this, to say we're putting it to this project.
Next month.
Whenever.
Next month or.
Okay,
May or
all
June.
right. Yeah, all right.
And then we're going to
What's your
approve it
concern?
as is.
I'm concerned that you're gonna have to come back and redo this.
No,
because-
no, we're going to approve it as
Yeah.
is.
As it, well, as is. I think you're gonna change it though.
No, not changing it.
As-
We're
Just
approving
ask
it as
that
is. Sorry
question.
about that.
No, we're not changing.
Not changing.
Joe Manchin.
Yeah.
No, okay, all right.
As
So
is.
we have a motion to approve as is. Sorry, who seconded? No one wants to touch it.
Did somebody?
I would be delighted. to
Amy.
second.
All right.
Power.
Go.
There you go.
Well done. Okay. Oh, sorry. Oh, Chris made the motion after causing the commotion.
It's all
Sorry,
right.
it's
You knew
late.
that was
It's late.
coming.
That was unnecessary.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor?
Few calls.
Opposed? None? So moved. All right. Thank you. No, good catch and excellent solution. Thank you.
This was not. I thought that was not.
Okay, now,
Um,
move on.
There's an issue with the next one, but I'll read it anyway. Resolution authorizing an appropriation of $1,940,750,000 for the DPW Town Buildings 2023 project and the financing of said appropriation by the issuance of general obligation bonds of the town and notes in anticipation of such bonds in an amount not to exceed $1,940,750. Now, this includes town hall repairs and upgrades,
Yep.
$105,000. Firehouse boiler and controls, $120,000.
Mhm.
EMS building repairs, $74,750. Parks Garage at Saks, $341,000. Waveney House repointing drainage, $500,000. Waveney Park Powerhouse Theater, $250,000. Irwin Park Barn roof support, $250,000. Train station, $150,000. Old Incinerator Buildings demo engineering, $75,000. Waveney House repair lighting fixtures, $75,000. All right, comments.
I thought the Irwin barn expense and all of the Irwin related capital expenses, we thought we needed a game plan for Irwin. And those
That
were
was
all.
Irwin
taken-
House. That was Irwin House.
It
No,
was all of them.
no, for all of Irwin.
Unfortunately, yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was the intent of this group.
The idea, it actually was for the house. We were asked for the house. That's why we took the house out. We left the barn.
Right, good.
That's why we left the barn in, because the barn is integral. We have monies right now for the roof, but we need to support the roof. So then we need to do something with the roof or we're gonna have a problem. So this is a two-part project where we've got to support what's there. We learned that underneath what the supporting structure of the roof is limited during the structural analysis that we did. So we need that money and then combine with the money to do an entire roof. So that's why we said during the discussion, you are correct. We had the thought of, come back, but we said, no, this one had to go forward because I'm gonna lose the roof. The house, we took off the table.
Need
and
a
said we'll
plan.
Come back to you with a plan similar to what we did for Waveney, but during the discussion, we separated the two and said this one should go forward or needs to go forward, and we took the Waveney house off the docket.
Okay, that wasn't really my understanding, but you can tell me when you talk about the roof. So the 250 line up you have here is for roof support.
So support,
Where is the money for the roof?
we already have that money
Last year.
last year.
And how much was that?
It was,
What that is off the top. of your
200?
head?
it was a couple hundred, right?
Yeah.
And are we
Josh,
comfortable
do you have that?
with these numbers?
For it.
It's, I have 250,000 from last year.
So the whole roof is
So it's
half a
500.
million.
You know, that's not correct. That's 2024 line. I don't have what we had from last year. Irwin Park Farm,
Roof.
It was 221,000.
There you go.
121,000. Thank you.
But we haven't spent it because this came up.
That's some money on engineering.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I talked to Tiger about this when it came up before town council because we did not approve it. But we're here tonight to either approve it or not approve it. So,
Yeah, we didn't intend to approve it.
no.
We missed it,
didn't.
yeah.
I know.
Well, how,
During the discussion, it was in our opinion, it was approved,
Yeah.
to move forward to this level. Because
You
during the
pulled out-
discussion, we separated the two.
You pulled out $200,000 for the house.
right.
No,
For the
Yeah, but
house.
my
that,
recollection is
everything based
we
on the
said
plan.
we shouldn't be spending money. I think you actually said, Todd, we need a plan for this, like we needed a plan for Waveney. I think it was, is your topic. Now, if, can it not wait a year? Does it,
I got a roof that's got a problem. I want to fix the roof. I need to support the roof in order to fix the problem. So no, that's why at the time I said, no, that this one here, we took back 1.9 million. This was not part of it. This is one we said
I think that's right.
Yeah,
okay,
but it wasn't. clear,
It was-
so
it wasn't clear
that's
to me.
why I.
We definitely pulled the house
to
for
Tiger.
the same reason we did it for Waveney a few years ago. We didn't have a plan. This I remember being specific to
I don't.
the roof not being able to get done.
All right, how do we feel about it now? Are we all in favor? We okay with it?
I
or-
think that's Tiger's explanation.
And Tiger, you're comfortable
we have
with
to-
the
yeah.
all-in
Yeah, I'm okay with
cost
the.
on this one.
All right, okay.
Yes.
This is the support. This is to do the support so we can do the project we approved a year
The
ago.
Irwin barn is.
That's the part that was missing. We did not understand that it was
That's
based
it.
on what we had
That's okay.
already proved a year
And I
ago.
just
'cause
have a question.
We had this discussion, so right or wrong, that's the answer.
Hey, hang on, Judy. Okay, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah.
So my question is, can we use the railroad fund for the train station improvements?
The railroad fund, the reason that it's here is because the railroad fund is depleted.
Oh.
Normally it would be.
Okay,
And it actually in the budget, it was shown as 150 from other. We had to move it over.
all right.
We actually don't even own the damn thing, so we're improving it without owning it.
How's that depleted? Where did all that go?
COVID didn't.
Was that, because we had quite a bit. I mean, no?
Yeah, that's why you saw the highway department overtime increase and the parks department overtime increase, because the offsets were gone. So that was one of the problems that we had there too.
Oh, that's right, yes.
Yep.
Yeah, that's.
That's
right.
true.
Yeah, all right.
Any other questions on the town building program?
Thanks, Tiger.
Thanks, Tiger. Okay, motion to approve the Department of Public Works Town Building Program for 1.9.
I'll move.
Amy?
19407.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
We need a second. Michael? Second, Michael, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? None? Okay, so move. Thanks, Tiger.
All right, resolution authorizing an appropriation of $4,085,000 for the Playhouse Theater 2023 project and the financing of said appropriation by the issuance of general obligation bonds of the town and notes in anticipation of such bonds in amount not to exceed $4,085,000. All right,
Questions?
Can I have an update in terms of the cost overruns on this and how much is the town with the additional HVAC expense having to pick up? And I know there was an agreement over a certain amount that the principals were going to, but I'm not sure they really thought that was their expense. So how's that work?
I should preempt you by saying it includes planning, design, acquisition, construction, installation costs, equipment, materials, abatement, site improvements, architect fees, engineering fees, insurance, other related fees, expansion and change of use of second floor, installation of third floor for location of HVAC, a new HVAC system, elevator installation, new bathroom installations, structural repairs, additions, and ADA compliance and building code compliance measures, and for interest on borrowings and other financing costs, and for administrative printing, financing, legal cost of insurance related thereto. I don't think we've left anything out. Go. Now you get to explain all this.
So we're the architect and the engineer and our contractor are still finalizing the numbers. We're confident in what we are at this final number as far as what we feel the final number will be. We're still in discussion with Cinema Lab as to their cost share portion of it. Some of it, arguably could be said that it's all town related, say the HVAC system, right? Yeah, others, it might be a different discussion, but the fact that the structure itself was damaged in the eighties during private construction, necessarily, that makes it's a difficult argument to say to the tenant that that's your responsibility, given while we're trying to renovate the building. But we are talking to them at present, as far as what their responsibility is or what their share would be. We just haven't come up with a final number. Regardless, that's why we had the entire allotment in, because we need the entire allotment for the project itself, and then the cost sharing would be determined later.
Would you remind me what the total all-in cost of, I know you gave it to us last month, all-in cost of, fixing the building and fitting it out and, the all-in expense on this and the all-in cost for the town on it. With the other money that we've appropriated from ARPA and funds that we had available and all that jazz.
At present, the project resides at just under $8 million.
Including a $500,000 contingency.
Correct.
And then, and that includes the roof or not?
No.
The roof was done 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I know, but it's still part
So
of.
give it to
fixing the
me
building.
again,
Includes-
Tiger.
It includes
It's,
the exterior work that we did this year, but the roof was separate.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a couple of years ago. Right now, the Cinema Lab is at 1.55 of that 8 million. So you're at 6.45 million. And then we're looking at the cost share from Cinema Lab.
Do we have an estimate as to what they're gonna contribute to this last
They'll,
bid?
they'll be close to 2 million in total.
So they would add another 400,000-ish? Okay.
So we'll be at 6, right? Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, out of the 8.
so what did we have? We had 500,000 contingency. What was the roof?
What was the roof, Bill? I don't have that lit.
Was
I
it
don't-
2 or 3?
Roofs are always 200.
Yeah. It's 200 and something.
Wasn't it
I just
250?
don't have it.
To something, yeah.
No.
I apologize. It's in a different sheet.
Okay, well,
How much do we have in this building so
So
far?
anything else that we've left out here besides all that I've read? So
You
it's the
called it
contingency,
7.4.
the 500,000,
Just the number.
Cinema Labs contribution
We go into
and the
contingency,
and the
we go
roof,
into-
right?
Right.
Anything
because you're-
else?
because there's,
Okay.
Would you? My first sheet had it on there. I don't have it on my first sheet. Right. Yeah, there.
So
it
if
is.
it's 7.4 and we're
It was,
asking
the
for
project cost was $288,299.62. We had a budget of $292,720. So we had a savings of $4,420.38. So just under 290,000 for the roof itself.
Plus now, okay, so there's 290 plus all the
All
work
right.
you've done using the theater fund,
Correct. That's,
Plus-
that's,
plus other monies we've allocated. So how much are we in
that's,
for
that's
already?
baked into the 8 million.
oh,
So
Yes, but
the
we-
ARPA was a
part
million.
of our 6 includes the 500,000 or 600,000 from the fund.
Yeah. the
750.
750. Okay,
750.
all right.
In the ARPA money, right?
Plus the ARPA money.
And
$1 million
$600
of
for the
bond,
ARPA,
$1
and we
million
had
dollars.
$1 million original bond.
Right.
And then their 1.55 brought us to the 3.9 original budget.
250 was ARPA,
No, 600. is ARPA.
600. Oh, really? All right.
So we're, the
Wow.
total town investment in this building so far, it's about $1.7 million.
No, it's more.
Well, if that's, you saying ARPA plus the town fund?
How much have we spent it today?
Yeah, how much?
We're over,
is this?
we're over $2 million.
Over 2 million.
Okay.
we spent.
Plus the roof, plus
And
the,
that's including the roof and,
Correct.
And the purchase of the seats.
okay. And we think that on this
Sorry.
remaining 4, we might be able to get $500,000 from the funds.
From them.
Yeah.
Oh, that includes that. Yeah, good. Okay.
which
So
includes
so
that?
the 4, you're saying the 4,085,000 includes a
Oh,
cost sharing coming from Cinema Lab. Could be 300,000, 400,000, 500, I think TBD, but it sounds like it's in that range. I don't know if we have a hard number, but my point is like
Yeah.
for NCAF, that's the same thing. We fund the whole thing and then they would reimburse. Okay.
Yeah,
all
that
right,
has to happen.
that's fine.
So we have a little,
we'll be in for 6 million bucks.
We're
Okay, and
gonna-
of
we're
that,
gonna
of
get
that
the
6 million,
funds.
1 million or 600,000 is ARPA. The rest of it is town funds in one way.
Well,
shape, or
750 was from the fund itself, the Playhouse Fund.
form. Right. But it was town money, right?
Correct.
So,
Some,
yeah, so it's $6 million all in
So
for
we
the
don't
town.
really have any other options really, but to approve.
Well,
Well,
it's
it's how much it
hard.
was accumulated rent.
Walk away from-
We accumulated rents for 15 years. We never-
Yeah, but we also paid all their
Oh, yeah, we
expenses during
did.
that time.
Yeah, we did.
I
15
mean, but
years.
that was, we didn't offset it against the expenses of running it,
Right.
so, I mean. It was still town money.
We never put any money into it, basically.
Not until the roof, no.
Any other questions?
It's an unhappy situation, but I don't see what alternatives.
It wrecks your on budget metrics.
It ruins that.
It really
yeah.
does.
That's why when you ask me about, what's my one takeaway, I'm not gonna touch 100-year-old building.
Well, no, there you go. That's a lesson for all of us, maybe,
Yeah.
Of
Apart
course,
from
we
Wayne
bought
Manning,
it.
Yeah, that's about it. So.
We
What did we
bought
pay
it.
for it
3 million.
when we bought it?
3.
Was it 3? That was 2 and change. I didn't-
It's 3.
Well, it's close
Two,
to 3. I
three.
think there was a little bit.
Was
of-
it?
3?
A little bit of, input.
2
yeah. And that was, let me tell you, that was a push. That was a hard sell. I mean, but it went back to the other parties neutral. I mean, we made nothing out of it. That was the agreement. So we either had to do that for 5, if I remember, it was 5 years.
So-
And then 5 or 7, and then we had the flexibility to do what we wanted with it. So it was the right decision at the time for the 5 to 7 years. Now is a different story. Now you get to decide.
Well, you got, again, private, $2 million of private money.
Yep.
$2 million of private money for 100% private use. I mean, we're,
Well,
we're,
Why is it private
It's a
use?
public use.
Public, what are you talking about?
well, look at, you have to pay to go in and use it. It's not like we're contributing to.
I have to pay to go to any movie
It's a
theater.
huge economic generator for downtown,
We'll
for the
see.
restaurants and stuff. So
No, Amy, what are you saying about that? I'm not a owner.
hope
I'm
that's
expecting to
true.
pay when I go in and watch a movie.
No, but as opposed,
that's
to using town money to
benefit the
help do the athletic
citizens
facility,
of
which
town.
everyone uses.
It's-
It's different.
Yeah.
It
It's
doesn't really
different.
benefit the citizens of the town anyway. Of course.
No.
I feel like I'm benefiting if I get to go see a movie there. I'm not, you losing me on that one. I agree with you on almost everything. How are we disagreeing on this?
So, every once in a
Every
while.
once in a while.
Every once in a while.
All right.
The stars don't align.
Is construction proceeding right now or are we halted? What's going on?
We're pretty much at a stasis. We're, finalizing the design, but yeah, there's not much, the next move is to start to rebuild. So
When you need money for that.
we need money for that. Right? So we're finalizing those, that cost and, working with the HVAC designer to see if we can't bring that number down. But this is our estimate at present.
But we're not out of funds. We have a little over $2 million.
We have money left. But
Yeah, we have
the next contract would probably supplant that or, go past what we have available.
I mean, if this was approved, what timeline are we looking at now? Well,
We're still pushing December, but it'll be close. I'd like to make it in 23 because she's 100 years old, but it'll be close. It was a push anyways, regardless of this, delay to a degree, it was a push anyways, but, we'll
Wasn't the
continue to work.
original date October?
Yeah,
It's May.
How much revenue is anticipated from the parties and private events? Have we really looked at that?
We share in that.
I know, but have we looked at it? I mean, do we know or have a feel?
I think I remember they were projecting they could triple the revenues that we had pre-COVID. So I think we were at about 500,000 before COVID and that
Yeah.
they were getting it up to 1.5 million. And the rent to us, I think that's the range. The
120.
rent to us, do you remember what it is?
120.
120. And then some sort of potential upside
Yeah.
if they do better. I think.
Keep in mind,
that's-
the other element here is
Yeah.
we have a number of investors in town who have put up the money. So they're,
Oh, yeah.
as a business
And
proposition,
you're gonna lose.
we have
all
local
that if
investors.
you Sell it or.
The rent's 120,000 a year?
Yeah, but there's a period of time where there is no rent, for like we give them a grace period.
Would they eventually be a taxpayer?
When do they start paying rent?
Yeah.
So no, so that,
5% kicker over $1 million in sales.
Yeah, but the building doesn't go on the tax rolls, you know,
Is it on the tax rolls?
No.
No.
because we own it.
right, but it's
we own
rent
it.
generating, so it's not tax generating. That's right. So,
For the next 100 years.
It's very hard. We've come so far. I mean, I just wish we'd known any of this in the beginning.
well, this is your 100-year-old building
Here's your
problem. I
100
mean,
year,
it's a can of worms. It's a can of worms. All right, well, I think everyone's disappointed. We end up having to have HVAC issue and the others, but
Yeah.
we own the building. We have to make it ADA compliant. We got to do all the things that need to be done. So,
And one of the things that they did in the 1980s, they poured 3 feet of concrete to build that mezzanine, right? And you have to take that 3 feet out because and then to support the second floor so that we can put the HVAC inside with steel. So, it's more complicated than we thought. So,
all right. Well, I guess you have to take it apart to understand that. That's the problem.
In essence, what happened.
Literally what
We had to
happened.
Take it apart. Problem is, we got to put it back together.
Yep. Okay.
I could add that I'm over here once every day. And I get more people stopping when no one's going over. I've got one negative person talking negative about it. Give it something else time.
Well, not
Good,
everybody's
good.
paid attention. That's the beauty of all these blips.
Okay, so I think we know where we are. All the questions?
I feel like we're in a Robert Moses
Yeah,
position.
we are.
As he basically said, once you put the shovel in the ground, no one ever stops it.
That's
So
right.
we're in a tough position here.
Yeah.
I don't, would we have done it? Would we have done it if we knew it was going to be 8 million and net to the
No,
town 6? It's very
heavens
hard to
no.
say. It's very hard to say, but I will say, I was never really sold on, I think it's cool, just don't know if it's gonna work. So, but I kind of voted for it, saying that it sounded like the people in the town wanted a movie theater.
And the investors,
They
do,
always
and
do.
people put their
They
money
did
where
the
their.
First time.
You know,
We have
and so I felt uncomfortable with it,
Huge
but,
public hearings. Yeah.
oh,
All right, well, we need to take a vote. You can vote yes, no, you can abstain. So I need a motion to move the 4,085,000 on the Playhouse Theater program.
I'll move.
Bob, need a second? We have a second? Well, I'll second. I can second. Okay, all in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Count them up
We have to take a roll call.
to take a vote. Yep,
Yeah, I think you have to.
You
pull
have
the,
to.
You're gonna have to pull the.
it's okay.
All right, so James Yao, yes,
Yes.
Amy Carroll,
Well, you can, if you can yes, no, or abstain. So we
Yeah.
just doing all the yays now.
yeah, I'm good.
you want
I
to do
mean,
the yays first?
do the
All
yays
right.
first.
No, whatever.
Go down- How do you want to do it? You tell me.
It
All
doesn't
the
matter. You
yays.
want me to go through the list and I'll make sure it's
However you want to do it.
valid? All right, I'll go myself. It'll be a yay. Tom Schulte's not here. Amy Carroll is a,
I'm gonna say a no because I think abstaining is lame on my part, so I'm just gonna say no.
all right, Todd,
Yay?
Michael Chen,
Yay.
Chris Labrie,
Hey,
aye or yay?
nay.
Nay, okay. Victor Alvarez,
Nay.
all right, Marie is not here. Bob Hamel,
Yay.
all right, Colm,
Aye.
what'd you say?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And James?
He said yes.
Yeah,
I think it's-
we has to do it officially again. All right, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 yays. 1, 2, 3 no's. So and is it
It passes.
60%,
yeah.
right?
It passes.
So-
It
Yeah, all
passes.
right.
6-3.
Passes, yeah,
Your Tom's not here.
Okay, isn't there a, did,
60%,
is everybody
right?
seated who voted?
Yeah, everybody that's
Yeah.
here has been seated
Bob is for Tom.
because Maria's not here. and
James is for
Schulte's
Maria.
not here.
Calm?
I don't know if I was seated. I may not have been seated tonight.
Think so.
No, you were not seated, so that's one less yay, I guess.
true.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. I should have caught that. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yays and 1, 2, 3 no's. Right?
Yes.
Is that what you're
Yep,
getting?
yep,
Okay, so.
yep. Five.
One, two,
Why do you only have 8 seated?
3, 4.
Why do you have 9 seated?
Who'd you not count?
No, no, that's not right. Hold on. 1,
We never seated anyone from. Maria.
2.
If you
Yes, we
have-
did. We
Yes, we
stated.
did.
If you
Both-
have
say-
5 out
Oh,
of 8, you have
sorry.
62%. It passes.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, that's
exactly,
right. James
exactly.
is seated and so is Bob. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yays and 3 nos.
And at 62.5%, it passes.
Who didn't?
It's 60% it passes, right?
Yeah, no, but you
Yeah.
got 62.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah. So it's yay.
Why don't
It's
we have 9
close.
people seated?
Yeah, because he's gone, she's gone. and
Colony seating.
it's not seated.
7.
You have 8
8.
people on the board.
Yeah,
not like people.
yeah, so
Should we have seated Com?
Right, we have 8.
But is
people on the
common
board.
alternate?
He's an alternate, but we
alternate.
didn't seat him because
We
there
thought Maria was
no-
coming.
We thought, well, no, Maria was seated. We did replace Maria,
Okay.
but there's no other Democrat that was not here.
Well, the Democrat was
Are
missing.
you getting the same, Bob? Same?
I've got James, yes, I've got Jane Yao, Judy, Todd, Michael Chen, Bob Hamill. That's fine. Right.
Do we seat anyone from Schulte or no?
Michael Chen was.
That was Bob.
yes. Michael
So we
Chen was a yes.
Didn't see.
Yeah, Bob's still an alternate and he sat for Bob. That doesn't make
But,
sense.
but Bob was seated.
No, he was seated for Tom
Okay.
Yeah,
and
Okay.
James was for
That's
Maria.
right.
We did
That's
that. We had the
right.
2 votes.
Okay.
so that's right, right? Okay.
Very
I'm
disappointing.
beginning to think I'm,
Okay.
all right,
Right,
well,
so,
that's,
so moved.
it's tight.
So moved.
All right.
Okay,
Now you gotta-
police station.
it's long, Jesus. All right,
So again, this is to approve bonding for a project that we are not quite
there.
still in process. I don't know, maybe timing on
Very much on schedule
the
though.
police station. I know, I understand. But,
Where am I here?
police station
Yeah, I know, but I'm.
should
lost
be
my
I,
page.
I'm not sure.
Oh. It's engineering police. authorizing-
I have it right here if you want it.
No, that's after this.
Mhm.
So it's, no, we did that.
Mhm, you go.
So it's, we did that. Hold on, gang.
The police station is next. I think.
Dunning's.
Would we like to do it?
Should have been, but this one, but I'm not.
Here.
seeing-
I got it right here if
All
you-
right,
if you want it. I got it right here if you want it.
Okay, all right, thank you. Resolution authorizing an appropriation of 27,500,000 for the police station 2023 project and the financing of said appropriation by the issuance of general obligation bonds of the town and notes in anticipation of such bonds in an amount not to exceed 27,500,000.
Questions? I have one. When are we going to see the next wave
Yeah.
of details, drawings and?
Well, they have very detailed drawings, Tiger.
We have a meeting on Thursday.
What
You
is,
have a meeting on Thursday and then our
Please.
May meeting, are we going to get when are we getting the next update on?
When would you like?
If you've got it for May, I think it would be good.
May would be better than, yeah, May, it's fine.
Better
Right-
than
Right
what?
now, we're at 40+%. Design drawings.
June's fine too, but it should be, if we could do it this next meeting or two would be good.
well, it goes to P and Z, goes to P and Z.
We go to P and Z for a special permit.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're hoping for this, this coming month. The end of this month, we might get paused and have to go to the next month based upon their schedule, based upon their agenda. But, we're at 40+% of the design drawings. We've worked through construction manager, our project manager in the town. We've worked through kind of trying to balance out the budget as to where we are and see why, where everyone's numbers are. For Thursday. So we could come in May, we could come in June. Let me ask.
What do you
Joe.
think, Amy? I mean,
I have a better sense after Thursday.
Yeah,
Okay, why don't we do
ask
that?
Joe and then see where
We're-
he's at.
I'm okay either way.
project
Just,
manager.
let's just do it in May or June. I'll leave it up
Okay.
to you. That's fine. That's fine.
Thank you.
Okay. And bonding wise, I know we're thinking about spreading this out over 2 or 3
Mhm.
fiscal years because we can. Okay. Okay, questions? Any other ideas? Colm or Michael, Bob on the police station? Okay, a motion to approve.
I'll move.
Chris,
Okay.
okay, Chris and Amy,
Moving along.
moved in second.
I'll defer to Amy in second.
All in favor of approving for the police station
Aye.
funding?
Aye.
Aye.
I,
Opposed? None. So moved.
So Bob,
Um,
that was Amy that.
Yeah, Chris,
Opposed. Second.
yes, thank you. Okay, I just want to be clear on the training facility program. We're
Letting
gonna
that go.
table that for tonight and we're gonna move it to our main meeting to discuss. And hopefully get some more details then. We'll work on that.
all right, resolution authorizing an appropriation of $4,331,935 for DPW Administration and Engineering 2023 project and the financing of said appropriation by the issuance of general obligation bonds of the town and notes in anticipation of such bonds in an amount not to exceed $4,331,935. That includes pavement management program, ADA improvements townwide, sidewalks improvements in new parking lots, traffic calming, rotary intersection improvements, pavement preservation, drainage, electric vehicles, land use departments, bridges, engineering and construction, traffic signal upgrades, APS systems downtown. I think that was pretty thorough.
Good list. Yep.
Yeah. All right.
Questions? Everyone remembers all those conversations with Tiger? Okay. Okay, all right, motion to approve.
Whoops, I
So
can't
moved.
move.
Victor, second,
I'm not if you're the.
need a second?
Second.
Chris, all in favor? Aye, opposed? None, unanimous,
All right.
so moved. Bless you.
All right, resolution authorizing an appropriation of $645,000 for the DPW Highways 2023 project and the financing of said appropriation by the issuance of general obligation bonds of the town and notes in anticipation of such bonds in an amount not to exceed $645,000. This includes the two WD dump sander trucks, the sweeper, the boom mower, and the leaf collection system.
Questions? None, okay, motion to approve. James, second, Bob, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None, so moved.
All right, resolution authorizing an appropriation of $1,327,500 for the DPW Parks 2023 project and the financing of said appropriation by the issuance of general obligation bonds of the town and notes in anticipation of such bonds in an amount not to exceed $1,327,500. Includes field improvements, irrigation upgrades, exterior wall reconstruction, fence backstops replacement, Bristow Bird Sanctuary, Mead Park Pickleball Plaza, Mead Park Walkway, Waveney Park Conservancy, vehicle with accessories, sidewalk plow, skid tier loader, which I don't remember, but I'm sure it's reliable. All right.
Michael, last chance to have the Mead Park Pickleball Plaza named after you for 75,000. This is it. We're down to the last straw here.
This is yours.
All right. I guess that's enough.
Yeah, I'll think about it.
All right, well, there's Dunning here for 4 million, you guys, so don't feel like you lost out. Okay,
But you can still move it.
so move it. All right, I need a motion. There you go, Amy. Michael,
Michael,
you gonna move that? You gonna make this motion to approve those programs?
Yeah, I'll make the motion.
Thank you. All right, second. James again. All right, all in favor? Aye, opposed? None? Thank you. Good, so moved.
All right, resolution authorizing an appropriation of $4 million for the Dunning Stadium 2023 project and the financing of said appropriation by the issuance of general obligation bonds of the town and notes in anticipation of such bonds in amount not to exceed $1,750,000.
I think that is not correct. Am I right? I think we want to approve,
Technically, yeah,
I think we want to approve bonding authorization for 2 million
yeah.
No,
with the option
do.
to use ARPA.
I thought.
If we don't, and we don't get ARPA, we have a $250,000
No, but the
problem.
appropriation has to be for $4 million.
4 million is correct. No problem with the,
Yeah.
no problem with the 4 million. I think the bond authorization is not correct. Okay, that should be 2 million, everyone, because we don't know the ARPA funds are not guaranteed for this. So
Right.
we want a bond resolution that approves and covers the 2 million. And if we can apply the 250, that's great. We won't obviously borrow as
So you
much.
should have an amendment, vote on the amendment to change the amount.
Can we just change the 1750 to 2 million? Are we okay with that? Is that legal?
I just
All
think
right.
you need to remind, so I think we're approving, just want to be, it's 4 million for the appropriation and
Yeah, because yeah,
the bonding is 2 million.
Yeah,
Okay?
I
That's
asked
all.
that question on ARPA earlier and I wasn't sure if that's
It's okay.
the same. All right.
Go ahead.
The motion having been, well, has anybody?
No, no, we haven't done it yet.
Nobody's.
No, so we're cleaning up now. That's why I jumped in.
Okay, so you have to reread it then.
Yeah, so we're rereading the authorization.
Okay.
Resolution authorizing an appropriation of $4 million for the Dunning Stadium 2023 project and the financing of said appropriation by the issuance of general obligation bonds, the town and notes in anticipation of such bonds in an amount not to exceed $2 million.
Okay, we need a motion.
And section 2 down below becomes 2 million.
Yeah. do
Well,
we-
no. Not to exceed.
Yeah, but do I need to read that?
And that, well, you're passing this resolution, and to use ARPA funds if available or something.
Well, you've got to change it in section 2.
Well, it says
section
250,000 of ARPA funds if available instead of on hand.
Right.
How's that?
Right.
Good.
Okay. Kevin, are you okay with
Yes.
that? All
That
right,
makes sense.
all right, section 2.
You don't have to reread that whole
Well-
thing. I mean, that's not, the
Why or not?
exactly.
All right, great.
Exactly.
Okay,
Okay, so
done.
you have to
All
change
right.
sections 2 and 3.
All right.
And you got that? Okay, okay. Motion to approve.
I moved.
Amy, second. Bob Hamel. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None? Well done. Thank you. So moved.
All right. Everybody, hold on.
3 more to go.
Resolution authorizing an appropriation of $100,000 for the Conservation Commission 2023 project and the financing of said appropriation by the issuance of general obligation bonds of the town and notes in anticipation of such bonds in an amount not to exceed 100,000. I wondered why we weren't transferring funds for this as opposed to bonding,
What's
but
this
that's
for?
my own. When I was going through this last night, I just thought that seemed,
Because land is forever.
I know, but still, I mean,
Do we have 100 in the set aside in land acquisition?
We have 150 right now, I think.
So why don't
so
we use it?
why?
That's why we
That's
put
what
it
I
away.
was thinking last night. Why aren't we using it?
And then,
No, this is to replenish them up. The 100 we're going to spend in in a month or two. So
no, but the idea
No,
is
but-
you
but
build
we-
it up so you spend
but
it,
we
and then you
got it,
replenish it
so-
over time.
Westport has a $3 million fund. So
That's good.
I
We're
know,
not
that's
Westport.
But it's only 100,000.
They have a Shake Shack too. I can't- there's nothing we can do.
It's not- Okay, so,
Did they do now?
why don't we use the money? That's why we
I
have it.
was thinking the same thing, but I don't remember the discussion. I don't think we had it.
We didn't because I don't think we had a discussion about this this acquisition. This is new.
it was, no, it wasn't in the budget. You just didn't talk.
No, no,
about
no, but it wasn't a 223 project.
Sounds like we're not ready for this tonight. So let's move it to May and go through it and understand why we want to use it. Is this the right thing to do? Should it be $200,000 if we're going to bond it? Let's
No, why'd you double the amount of bonding?
I just saying that I think
Yeah,
there's
it's just
there's
not,
just some questions to do it. And
it's not a lot of money for bonding.
I was just going to say,
Spend 50,000 first and then.
you may have leftover funds over there, by the way. You just heard Josh say we have $1.5 million.
We're selling land tomorrow. We'd like to move that into land acquisition.
Okay. there you go.
Well, do you want to,
No,
want to?
No,
That's not on the agenda.
Selectmen
But I mean, do you
Selectmen
wanna-
would do
Let's
that.
just,
Raise it? Okay, all right,
I think we table it for May,
okay.
but I think we ought to talk it through to make sure we,
Yeah.
because we did not, I think, I don't know, said Chris, we did not really go through it in
Nope.
detail on the budget. And I think we ought to there's some questions. It's fine. Let's go on to the schools.
All right. Okay. Resolution authorizing appropriation of $3,250,750 for the school's 2023 project and the financing of said appropriation by the issuance of general obligation bonds of the town and notes in anticipation of such bonds in an amount not to exceed $3,250,750. And I'll go through it quickly. It includes Innovation Center, the school facilities assessment, the engineering services general, the floor tile replacement at East, the fire alarm system panel device replacement at East, masonry restoration repair, repoint brick at East, boiler replacement south, fire alarm system panel and device replacement south, replacement of fire alarm devices, all schools, boiler replacement, floor tile replacement at West, West fire alarm system panel device replacement, Saks, the masonry repairs, repoint brick, Saks floor tile replacement, Saks gymnasium divider curtains, Saks concrete courtyard resurfacing, high school refurbished planetarium, high school chiller valve and internal test, high school auditorium carpet replacement, sped transportation vehicles replacement of 1, 2, and 3. Anything that doesn't sound familiar or want
Well, we don't have the Board of Ed here to discuss it. but-
for which?
Planetarium?
The planetarium, boy, that was discussed at length.
It's just the right number,
It's what it says, 150.
150?
I thought, yeah, and I thought they were raising that, right?
No, no, no.
Is
I
that-
thought we were.
No,
giving
but
them
they were
more.
raised. Anne, is the 150 on the planetarium is our contribution. They're raising, their own. That's our.
I
okay,
think
yeah,
they
that's
cut,
right.
correct,
Yeah,
but I think they need a little more, or think they might need a little bit more, but when we asked them to sharpen their pencil, they cut it back to 150. That's what that's
this is our one.
Amy, that's what you're remembering. It was a little bit higher and they cut it back to 150. They don't
I'm
think
not
they
sure
need
what
that
I'm
much money now.
remembering, but You said, it's good.
I think it
Okay.
might have been 200. That could have.
Maybe it was like that or 250. Yeah, you're right.
That's my recollection, but
Yep.
I want to make sure that wasn't.
But
their
this is the right number that
contribution
they've
too.
asked for,
Okay,
the 150. Okay,
all right.
motion to approve. The wish list, the school's wish list of things.
I'm moving.
Amy, so moved. Second.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, none? Anybody abstains? Okay, so moved. Last one.
All right,
Oh, what's
where's
this?
the 500,000?
This was it.
See.
Wish I found anything.
I have a resolution authorizing appropriation of 500,000 for the bond premium 2023 project and the financing of said appropriation by the allocation of bond proceeds on hand in an amount not to exceed $500,000.
It's a lot of items.
I don't remember all that.
I have them if you want me to read them.
Yeah, it is a lot of items, but I don't know that we, well, I can go through, but I didn't know that we discussed it all.
It's lots of 20 and
It's a lot of
$30,000 projects. Water fountains, equipment, cybersecurity.
Equipment, tools, water supply, building improvement,
I mean,
training, meeting room,
people have it
alarm
on their
room,
tablets.
water rescue, public works administration, engineering, guide rails, camera security measures, signage and striping, energy savings initiative master
Mhm.
plan, electric vehicle charging stations, disc golf course, water fountains, Dunning Stadium, Waveney Trail reconstruction, Mead Park snack bar appliances, tennis hut replacement, sidewalk sander.
There you go.
Was that Waveney Trail construction that's putting down the
Reconstruction.
or is it a new trail?
It's reconstruction.
It's reconstruction of an existing trail. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Any other questions?
Okay.
All right, motion to approve.
So
500.
moved.
Victor, second. James again. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Abstentions? Okay, so moved. Well done. Thanks,
Oh,
everyone.
Lord.
Any other items tonight? I think we're good. May, we will have, we'll need everybody here. We will have a WPCA meeting in advance to set the rate for the sewer. And also we've got field and application, so. So it's an important meeting, so please try to make the May meeting. If there's nothing else, I have a motion to adjourn.
So move. I can do that.
Judy, second. Second to adjourn. Michael Chen, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. All right. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Colm. Thanks, Bob. Thanks, Michael. Thanks for
Yeah.
hanging in there.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Good work.
All right. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
I'm not surprised. It's just.
Changing their mind.
All righty.
Thank you, Judy. Great job. Yes, sir.
Sitting there last night.
Hey, thank you for your effort.